What
Hey,
is
guys.
up, everyone? Welcome, misfits, to this episode of Skeptic and Ranting, God of the Gaps.
Not goddess of the thigh gaps. That they
Oh my, where tonight we are watching a video called Debunking Atheism, God of the Gaps, from the channel Sayed Modarresi. So,
We might be in trouble, Amy.
oh
We might be in
my, I
trouble.
know.
Atheism might be debunked right before our eyes.
In the hot seat. Feels warm. So, won't you join James W. and myself, Amy Newman, for some gap-filling fun? Woohoo! That's right. I do want to thank everyone out there for joining us on the intertubes. Can't believe they get the internet right through there.
Well, thank Al Gore for that.
Thank you, Al Gore. And South Park. But if you're feeling fancy, please don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe, because then you gain access to that bell icon to be hit to all to join our live streams. Woo!
Like this.
What is up, Internet? I know. We are a skeptic channel, including the two schmucks that you see hosting. It's true. However, at the end of the video,
The shoe fits where.
That's right. If the shoe fits, then I'm fairly sure it's a mythological story that has about as much evidence as the Bible. But we will be opening up the floodgates,
Roughly
or
the
rather,
same, yeah.
the open mic, so anyone can say what all of the wisdom they just experienced, how much it influenced them. We'll also give everyone the chance to have their own opening closing statement. Atheist or theist, liberal or conservative, come as you are, just not on the sheets. And of course, feel
Or the
free
flag.
to keep on tagging us while we are experiencing the wisdom, James W. and myself, in chat at Amy Newman. And our little housekeeping is sponsored by our Patreons, like the amazing KO champ from the Atheist Roundtable and Tango.
Oh, you mean us?
Yes.
Us, not KO champ.
Did I say K?
You said KO champ.
Us from
Yeah.
the Atheist Roundtable. And I was going to
Hey,
say
Jenna.
that Oz just did his first stand-up routine. So go check that out at the YouTubes and also at Tart.live, Connecting Atheists.
Speaking of Tart, we got Jenna, the black female atheist, in the chat. Woo-hoo! Hey, Jenna, good to see you. Thanks for joining the party.
And we are also sending love to Ian Davenport,
Ian,
who is helping us level up in the skeptic community and, making us see that it kind of doesn't look like a watch. It just looks like our organs form naturally. In fact, when we hear these creationist claims, they kind of make us and a grumpy old cuss go bleep, bleep, bleep. Because, actually, not just creationist claims.
And
let me just
the claims
say,
we're about to hear tonight
ladies and gentlemen, I do have to say, it is a specialty to showcase this
Gizmo. Gizmo has selected a very special video today. A very special man to sit in Amy's hot seat.
Oh my! And I will say, he does seem rather hot and bothered. That does seem rather apparent by the video.
Definitely.
A group of people seem to trigger him. But we're sending love to 3 princesses who want Diana Smith.
Thank you,
Speaking of
Diana.
triggering religious people, the female gender in the entirety. Oh, the Abrahamic religions. I kid, you've treated women so well over the years. And when I mean well, I mean generally well done at the stake. Do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do. And sending...
Like Cooking with Yahweh. Like our Cooking with Yahweh episodes.
Right. And sending love to Pat Lowinger, the resident archaeologist
in the house.
of the stream.
What's up, Pat?
What is up, Pat? Who has done so many fantastic episodes of Talk Skeptic to me, where he has taken us on an archaeological look on the history of sacredness, and also has a fantastic
Halloween.
channel.
You did Halloween with Pat.
That's right. And it was a very...
Where Amy was in costume. Yeah.
Look, I would say... any reason that I get to cosplay and possibly get on my knees. What were we talking about? Anyway, also sending love to the fantastic Biddy Buddha, where you can find youtube.com/BiddyBuddha_, which is where he and she team up for some academic awesomeness and explore some fantastic topic.
I think that's still Sunday. That might be tomorrow.
Sunday.
And then Biddy said her and Shane were possibly going to be doing another show.
I saw that.
Amazing shows coming out.
In other words,
you guys have got so much atheist content to
look at all that non-believer community content, baby. And
soak in the doubt. Soak in the doubt. The reasonableness.
I
the
do
evidence.
want to make a shirt that is upcoming. It's just going to say Merchant of Doubt. I do feel like that is what we're selling. You know, they sell the invisible product, and we are trying to make people say, you know, I understand that my shoulder is sore, and that you say that this concoction made of snakes, the oil will actually, once I rub it on there, it's actually going to make me feel better again. And that we might be a little skeptical of that claim. Dale Pastel thinks that we should be.
He's very skeptical. But the back of the shirt should also have our famous Journey line, "Please stop believing."
Please stop believing.
Believing. Yeah, there you go.
Also, we kind of, I know, we're biased. We're NASA shills. We try just so hard.
It pays too well. It pays too well.
And the George Soros checks weren't cutting it. And so it was just like, ladies and gentlemen, we can't help it. It seems to be a round Earth. I don't know. Must be our fisheye eye lenses. But sense and love to Dave Garr and the lead hyena of the pack, Scott Duke.
Thank you, Dave Garr. Scott Duke.
And I hear it. I say it day in, day out. They look down on other animals. They think that they were poofed into existence so that we could control them. And while we are an apex predator, that doesn't mean that all the other animals, all the other life forms were formed for us. Oh, how wonderful. It's like, honestly, I feel like chickens should just come with bows on them. Mostly because it would be adorable.
We are the tool makers, but you don't want to come one-on-one, face-to-face with a tiger. That would be bad.
Well, and it's made us a uniquely successful apex predator. We are going to town. This is our time, like the dinosaurs had. Nonetheless, we are a social grouping, and we really get our power from the social grouping. You buy your tool. You don't create your tool. Someone else engineered it and manufactured it and yada, yada, yada. And so really, like James was saying, if we dropped you or me and a tiger on the island, I think we know if one
we're going to be in trouble.
To be bet on who was going to be the survivor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiger will be using our bones to as toothpicks. But
Exactly. But we're also sending love to Regos, who sends love, helping us talk about our skeptic Bible study, because it's kind of fantastic just seeing the Bible word for word in all of its sandpaper,
soaking up the wisdom,
kindness of wisdom,
the genocide, the boredom.
And that is, and I will say, when it's not being dry, it does get exciting because it gets very filled with sex and violence. So it kind of has this dichotomy going on. Yeah, a little Games of Thrones-y. Oh, picky.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's either exposition mode or God's like supervillain, kicking names, kicking ass, doing Terminator.
Yeah, those people, they live over there. Not anymore. I want you to go kill them.
Go kill that interfaith couple. It'll be cool. I like it.
Why not?
Also, sending love to last, but certainly not least, the amazing and fantastic and
not least, mistress.
Rachel.
Not least.
Woohoo! And it is reminding us, of course, that, the Bible would never condone slavery, James. It would never
not bad
do
slavery.
Well, not bad slavery.
Not bad.
Maybe a little bit of slavery. Maybe it was like diet slavery. Like
did we go too far?
You don't want the calories.
Did we go too far with should we have just outlawed the bad slavery? I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, it sounds like a discussion that I don't want to go to war about it. I want to be really civil, but, these things happen, apparently. And a God didn't seem to intervene, ever. Do. And yes, I do want to thank all of our Patreons.
Thank you, guys. We love you guys.
Who can be found at patreon.com/Amy Newman, which helps us make even more awesome content. And we are sending love to them. We are sending love to all of the people in chat, our mods who make these streams so great. And of course, lovely viewers like you who make this channel even possible. But before we go into the video, hi, Gizmo. Yeah, and I think his BS detector is really high.
It went crazy when he heard this shit. Yeah.
My, oh my. But yes, before we get into the opposing view, the other side. God of the gaps. And no, I'm not speaking about a God who sells jean shorts at great prices. Rather, the God of the gaps speaks to the notion that if science can't answer a specific question, then maybe religion can shove their specific answer right in. Which I assure you is less sexy than it sounds. That's because the God of the gaps is really a showcasing in our own ignorance. And not in the fun, jackass kind of way where someone gets kicked in the balls, but rather...
Oh, my balls.
Rather... Quality television right there. But rather, an argument from ignorance, proposing that something is true. Namely, they're God. Because it hasn't been proven false. Which, if that sounds like a bunch of crap to you, you're not alone. This represents a shifting of a burden of proof, like the Catholic Church shifting child rapists. Or rather, theists trying to push their own burden to provide evidence onto non-believers. And there are a few subjects they love to do this with. Often where science is at the frontier of knowledge, which is what happens when you're constantly breaking new ground and not waiting for a faith healer to regrow someone's limb. Hashtag
One day.
www.whywon'tgodhealamputees.com.
They just don't have enough faith. It's their fault.
I know. They should have prayed harder or had two
They
people,
should have
right?
prayed harder. Yep.
Or abiogenesis, the process by which life arose from chemical compounds. Mostly because evolution, being the backbone of modern biology, seems to be triggering to a creationist because it's a fact.
Amy's drinking creationist tears.
Even though we get told some deities made us from clay, quote that Ghost movie with Patrick Swayze, or even the Big Bang, which is the furthest back we currently go back in time, or what we call a single Betty White. So, when I hear the phrase God of the gaps, I can't help but picture an ever receding pocket that this deity can't fit their face into. Because whenever we learn something new that was previously thought to be from a god, we normally start with shock and even a little awe. In old times, natural philosophers presenting new data were often thrown off cliffs or hanged at the stake. But these days, the market has changed. Religion has set up shop at the outskirts of where the scientists are working and scavenger themselves onto lay people who are ready to accept a superstition or a conspiracy theory when no other theory is available at all. Thus, the skeptic thing to do is to believe as few false things and as many true things as possible. No theistic thigh gap needed. Thank you. And all right.
Thank you.
What do you think, James? Are you feeling a mighty gap tonight?
I am, and I have to tell you guys, when I first saw this video, it was kind of just, I'm always looking for videos, checking out stuff, new content that we can do for the show because we love you guys and we always want to provide you guys with new and up-to-date content. And I came across this video and it really just, wow. You guys are going to see what we're talking about when we get into it. It's a doozy. Yeah, Gizmo's right. He's a great producer. He really is. He puts a lot of time and effort into it. And, so yeah, but God of the gap. So as we've said, we say it all the time on this channel. You guys have heard it before, that every single time we've ever had a question about the natural world, about anything really, and whenever we have found an answer, it's always been a naturalistic answer. We've never came across a problem that had a solution where we needed to invoke magic for it, ever. That's never happened. And of course, so the theists have, their gaps have shrunk, but they're defending the ones that they still have left. And they're welcome to do that. They can wallow in delusion and ignorance to their heart's content. I'm not going to stop them. Amy's not going to stop them. We're not for forced atheism or forced deconversion. If you want to go to church, you want to worship your God, do it. We're not banging the church door down and telling people they're deluded or anything like that. But just the triggering of this particular speaker that we're going to hear from tonight about atheists, just for being who we are, just for doubting the claims of religion, is really, well, you guys are going to see. And the thing is, we're just here putting our opinions out, and we welcome theists to come on and give us explanations, give us reasons why they believe, and we always listen to those answers. And I think, I know I would, I believe that Amy would, if we ever had someone come on and they presented us with good, solid evidence for a God that checks out, we would have to consider that. We would have to look into that. Doesn't necessarily mean we would worship it. That's another question, but we would not deny the existence of something for which there was good evidence for the existence of that being. We've just never seen that, but yet we are still waiting. We are waiting with bated breath. Amy is just waiting to embrace a god or goddess that we are bound to, that's shown to be likely to exist. We've just never came across that. And the thing is that all these gods and all these religious systems that we've ever come across are obviously the work of ancient man. They're obviously man-made superstitions, and that applies to Christianity just as much as it applies to Judaism and Islam. It's all superstition, and we've never seen anything else. But yet we still keep an open mind. But our existence is obviously it's a problem to a lot of people, just like we covered last week with should apostates, should people who don't believe anymore be executed, where we actually had a guy saying, yes, you guys are degenerates, you guys should be executed because you don't have faith anymore. Because we're honest about because we're not going to go through the motions and pretend that we believe something we don't believe. Intellectual freedom, freedom of thought, freedom of conscience. Because someone is exercising that and saying, look, you guys are welcome to your religion. I'm not going to take that away from you. I don't think it's real. I don't think it's true. And I guess they look at us as like they're all happy in their delusions, and we are triggering them just by the act of not believing, because we make them contemplate in the back of their minds the doubts they know they have, the uncertainty that's in there that they tell themselves they don't have, but they have it. They have it. It's there. They know that a lot of them know that there's at least seeds of doubt in just about everyone's mind. And I know my later stages as a theist, as a Christian, I knew that I was constantly trying to reassure myself of my faith, searching desperately for evidence, for answers to questions, looking for just anything to hold on to so that I could hold on to my faith, so that I had some reason to believe it. And after a while, you just keep searching and you don't find anything. You find the same bad answers, bad explanations, bad evidence. You just have to, at some point, be honest with yourself that you don't really believe this stuff anymore. And until you're shown good reason to believe it, you can't, in good conscience, say that you believe something that you don't. And that apparently triggers some people. But be that as it may, we're still going to continue doing what we do, in spite of their hatred and bigotry against us for exercising our freedom of thought. And Gizmo is 100% on board.
Woo-hoo! Yeah. Thank you so very much, James. And all right.
Viggo Mortensen? Is that God?
God? Huh?
Viggo Mortensen?
With that, we are going to hear from the other side, or rather a video call from the channel Sayed Modarresi called Debunking
Atheism. It'll be open later, Pata, after the video.
Called God of the Gaps. During the show, feel free to tag James W. or myself, Amy Newman, in chat with your thoughts, comments, and one-liners. And when we're done, we'll be moving into a short open mic so anyone can tell us what they think about the wisdom they learned tonight. And with that, we're about to get the fun started. Do want to say hi to everyone out there.
Hi, Sayed. Oh, no, not yet.
So just want to send love out there, and we're going to send love to everyone. But like I said, a early trigger warning in that this guy is really triggered, and it takes like a good 15 minutes for him to really get off the whole atheists do actually exist to get on topic. But yes, with that, let's get into some fun. Debunking Atheism 101. God of the gaps.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين وحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين.
He does get the prayer stops at some point. I was a little worried at first. He was just going in Arabic.
وحجته على الخلائق أجمعين.
In opening prayer. Actually, what he's doing is ordering a large at Wendy's, but you know, could be any.
مهدي هذه الأمة وطاووس أهل الجنة الحجة ابن الحسن العسكري فداه أرواح العالمين.
Oh,
my dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. One of the most absurd and ludicrous epistemological positions and philosophical stances is atheism.
Really?
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
Who identifies as an atheist is the single most arrogant individual to have ever existed.
Really?
I like how he says
really think about it.
Conduct, they may be nice people.
Well, thank you.
May exhibit.
They are the single most arrogant people in history, and you know, I'm sure a few of them are cool as shit.
They may not be axe murderers. They may not be concentration camp guards, but they're of the same ilk.
Demeanor that is rather friendly. But to take this position of atheism, and I'll explain what I mean by that and what the definition, because there are many different definitions for atheism. While they
will let Randolph tell you the real definition.
Project an image of absolute rationality.
I always love when precepts
that they
try and like say a definition that is often just their specific definition. They're like, no, it's the definition. It is the creator God. Well, what about these people that believed in gods that were chaotic and brought about renewal, or just were tricksters and all this? They're like, no, that doesn't exist.
Do we need to believe in those gods to do math? To do 1 + 1 = 2, we have to believe in Loki, or no? No? Okay.
Apparently you need to. What is up, Sinister? If God suffers from self-doubt, that makes him an atheist, right?
Well, you have to ask yourself at some point, God might have to ask himself, is he just a brain in a vat? Is he somebody that is in a vat? They've programmed his mind to be told that he's God, he's all powerful, that he can control the whole universe, but he's really just a brain in a vat.
It's also
it has godlike powers.
Weird to me that he was just waiting. Like, he waited 4.5 billion years, and he's like, okay, now in this one sliver of 100,000 years, we're gonna get humans. It's gonna be my chosen group. I was just
before that, he waited for eternity before he decided to create literally anything.
Yes, well, and that's the other thing. They go on to not really understand. I don't understand infants or eternities. I don't think humans are supposed to, and yet somehow...
It's hard for us to wrap our minds around something like that.
But somehow this God, you know, created us before time, but you need time to actually create something. But picky.
After eternity of being completely content and satisfied, he just decided he needed to create lesser beings to worship him. So I mean, he was lonely, I guess.
He was just sad, very, very sad.
Basic principles. The fact of the matter is that atheists are incredibly inconsistent and contradictory and even antagonistic towards one another, depending on which position.
Really? We are antagonistic towards one another. We would, you know, I mean, it's nice that the theists can all band together and they don't schism and they don't have different groups. Like Islam would never be backed into warring factions with different people taking different sides, killing each other over the true theology of Islam, right?
James, you know how often atheists schism from each other and then have atheist holy wars because they're true atheism.
We burn other atheists at the stake. And we don't want to portray that all of us atheists are all on the same page about anything, because we agree on one thing. We don't believe in a God. We have different opinions on the whole gamut of other issues, and that's fine. We're just coming together because we don't believe in God.
And yet when we shed that religious baggage, it is amazing how much we can agree on once we get rid of all that nonsense.
And even the things we do disagree about aren't necessarily things we would want to kill each other over. It's just, you have your opinion, I've got mine, and that's okay. That's okay. It's nobody's going to hell. Nobody's going to be killed by God. Just accept that we're different. We have different opinions and move on. Love each other.
And I am sending love, Sinister. We're getting close. It's been a wild, fun ride. I really couldn't have done it with all of you out there. Like, we are sending love to you guys.
We love you guys.
We have a whole bunch of things planned. We have icons and a whole bunch of fun stuff, and even maybe thinking of like a YouTube debate, icons and different debaters, not only atheists but theists as well. So we're lots of fun things. And what is up, Randolph? And of course, gotta send hearts. Gotta send.
We got Titan out there. We got Soldier of Science. We got Randolph. We got the whole crew out there tonight.
We got everybody. Immutable. We got so many.
Yeah, Pata P.
What's up, Skywatcher? And we
are
watching God of the Gaps. But if God of the Gaps was like coffee, I guess Debunking Atheism would be the flavor, because this guy, it's on his mind. And it doesn't surprise me. The more I look into the Quran, the more I realize how triggered the Quran is by non-believers. So this is not a surprising outlook.
If this is coffee, so far we've gotten decaf.
Yeah, indeed.
But suffice to say that atheism in its basic meaning is the most arrogant thing a person can subscribe to. And the reason for that is very simple.
Is atheist a YouTube channel?
An atheist is by definition one who chooses to reject the notion of God and an intelligent...
I wouldn't say choose. I would say is convinced that a deity does not exist.
Well, a lack of being convinced that one does.
Indeed. Softer weak. Either one, still fitting under the umbrella term of non-belief of atheism. That A word, once again, very triggering.
Get better evidence. Come to us with better claims that actually make sense, and maybe we'll consider them.
Yep.
Designer and a creator and an originator for the universe and everything that's in it. In other words, by definition, once again, the word atheist...
I like this. It's always by definition, and he's just gonna do an insult, like he's queuing it up. It's not gonna be like by definition, and then he reads from the Stanford Encyclopedia Dictionary.
You know, he's straw manning all atheists as hard atheists, and that's fine. Whatever. A lot of them do that a lot, but
not only
whatever.
is he strawmanning his hard atheist, I feel like he's not even representing that position. He's basically, it's like a low ad hominem, and then also just trying to,
He's obviously very triggered.
shrug that burden of proof.
Is a negation of theism, meaning that an atheist is one who categorically rejects the idea that this universe was created, that they were created by an
Have not seen any evidence for that claim. Not categorically rejecting it, just don't have any evidence to believe it.
Also, they hate when we remind them that we came from our parents who had sex. Like, that is how it works. And they're like, blah, 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 blah. That's such an obvious medical answer that everyone accepts. And clearly we all know that. That's not what we're talking about. No, that's actually what we're talking about.
You came from your mother's uterus. I mean,
and
what else do you want?
Creator. They reject all that. And the reason I say
there
it's
was
so
a sacrifice. A uterus had to expand for you
is
to be
because
here.
The same individuals who, despite their fancy titles and their academic accolades, and despite what they
I don't have any fancy titles to you.
To present as being intelligent and intellectual and smart and whatnot, they themselves will be the first to acknowledge, if they were honest with themselves,
unless you're a good boy,
they'll be the first to acknowledge that the amount of knowledge they have about this universe, about their surroundings, about the world we inhabit, about themselves, about their own bodies, is so incredibly deficient and so limited that it pales in contrast to the amount of knowledge that they have yet to discover and explore.
So many words,
in other words,
so little
the
thoughts.
amount of knowledge that's out there, whether it is known by other people, whether it's been discovered, or whether it is yet to be discovered, yet to be acquired, dwarfs whatever knowledge we have about ourselves and about the universe. So, how could someone with such limited knowledge, with such deficient intellect...
I like how, see, look at that, deficient intellect. He can't even help himself. Like,
yeah, you can't even help it.
It's actually humbling. I like how they try to assert the most powerful being, the creator of the universe, as an explanation for really everything, if not the most important things in life. And then when we have the audacity to not give an explanation when we don't have evidence, they go, oh, why can't you humble yourself? No, please humble yourself. Please stop giving the answer when you don't have evidence.
And you don't know. Yeah.
Yes. Randolph Richardson, who, as you can keep on tagging us, James W. and myself at Amy Newman, says Debunking Atheism 01 is nearly 1 hour long. Guess it's not so easy to debunk the classification of not believing in deities. I know. That's what's
That's
so
just
funny.
part 1, Randolph. There's like part 2 and 3.
Like I said, almost to the T, 15-minute long rant before we even get to any type of gap
For
argument.
The meat, substance.
Yeah, it's just how much he really dislikes non-believers. Oh, hey, 65% of your voice. You're saying the playback is a little bit low. It's at its highest. I'm not sure, but
I can hear it. Maybe headphones.
Never claim that there is categorically and absolutely
if anyone else is hearing it low,
no
please
creator
tell
for the
us.
universe.
But send in love, Randolph.
How could they know that? How could they know that for a fact? They can't.
Amy,
rude and cunning.
Do you know why the universe came to be or how?
No, all I know is that the furthest back that we can go is the Big Bang.
So you don't know why or how the universe came to be. I don't know why or how the universe came to be. When you don't know something, coming out and saying, yeah, I don't know, we don't have enough information to make a good guess even on that, is the antithesis of arrogance. Arrogance would be when you don't know, you don't have any evidence, jump in and say, no, I really do know. That's
exactly. It is the
being
exact
humble.
opposite.
Being humble is saying, we have such limited information, we just don't know. And there are people way smarter than me who are working on thinking at this problem right now, who are investigating it, and they will probably eventually come up with something. We just don't have that right now. So
exactly. We'll eventually have the answer, or to many of the questions posed, like consciousness, maybe abiogenesis, and then what will happen is they will claim God for whatever mechanism we learned, and then wherever the new frontier is, they will also say God seems to be hiding.
Yeah.
What's up, Titan? I do love it. It fits in your mouth. Every once in a while, you have to tighten your anus.
I don't know. Does it fit in Gavin's mouth?
Oh, wait, Gavin, does it fit in your mouth? Yo, Gavin, I do have to, while you're down there, I have to compliment Gavin. Because, you know me, James. I lurk and perk on all sorts of different theistic streams. And it was just so refreshing.
You guys never know when she's watching. She's like fucking Santa Claus. You never know when she's out there watching you.
I'm making a list. I'm checking it twice, baby. But no, I saw him just have a throw up exclamation while he was debating, just having a nice old rant against young earth creationism. And I just have to send a shout out always to my theistic sisters or brothers when they can align themselves on team science, because that's really all that matters. The theistic, this guy's, once again, very triggered by our existence.
No pants, Gavin, yeah, that's it.
But we just want to get theism out of people's minds, or unconvinced via debate, discussion, and discourse. But the people like Ken Hovens of the world, the people like, I assume this guy,
the charlatans,
who are just trying to affect textbooks, politics, trying to control lives in a manner that they shouldn't be, when they should just be enjoying their own freaking business, and of course enjoying their own religion if they feel like, and we would defend their right to.
Are we going to take it away from them? No.
Nope. Oh my, that's right, baby. I will say, as we are always a fan of whatever anyone's drinking out there, and if the green stuff is legal in your state, we also support it there.
Well, I have to tell you, this video has hit a new low for me, so I have to say this is a red label kind of night for me. So this is red label. Yeah. I can't help myself, because
you can't handle all this wisdom.
I can't handle all this wisdom with a completely clean mind. I need to have a little bit of chemically induced sanity.
Hey, it's understandable.
Yeah.
Atheists, like Richard Dawkins and others, at least they're smart enough to say that there is almost certainly no God. Because
another thing that triggers them, the fact that many skeptics do not give in to absolute certainty.
There is certainly no God. Almost. Because they know that by saying there is certainly no God, that they have...
By being humble and not claiming absolute knowledge.
Once again, something they claim. Like, look at that smile, baby. And yet, he will tell you he knows with absolute knowledge.
Even Richard Dawkins, one of the popes of atheism, would even say that there's almost certainly no God. He wouldn't say categorically there's 100% for a fact no God, just almost certainly, like, meaning it's like, is absence of evidence evidence of absence? You remember that stream, Amy? Like, you would think if there was a God, we would have seen some type of good evidence for one, somewhere, somehow, someplace. We haven't seen it yet, so we can say there's almost certainly no God.
But James, you can't ask for empirical evidence. That'd be silly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. That is what theists literally think. Let me paint.
Absolutely.
As small a brush as possible. A giant sloth of theists believe that the universe was created for them. Woo! That's right, baby.
And we discussed that last week when we had Richard on, where I went over the fact that the people who wrote the Bible, they believed that the earth was a flat disk with a dome overhead, and that was the whole universe. All the stars were little dots in the sky, lights in the sky that God put up there to help us navigate, give us a little nightlight at night to see. They had no idea there was space, other galaxies, other planets. They didn't know that.
That's why they just were like, the heavens will never go past the clouds. They'll be fine.
That's where God's at. He's up there somewhere.
But we are, as always, we are always open to the marketplace of ideas. This man is a YouTuber, and, if you do agree with him or want to check him out, you can find him out there. We're sending love to Randolph. Don't know if he would join our channel, but I will say he's always open for a debate me, bro. And he has a little bit of Dinesh D'Souza. They would probably agree on some things and then vehemently disagree on others, because canon battle. Oh, religions.
That we will in fact hold them to account.
Thank you, Patty.
And we will remind them of their deficiency and their lack of knowledge. And we will remind them.
Once again, the lack of knowledge is only a bad thing if you don't act like you have the knowledge.
Right. We admit there's a lot of stuff we don't know.
Exactly.
Almost nothing about the universe. So how could they know that God does not exist? So this is what I'd like to explore in this lecture, inshallah. We will go over some important discussions and arguments and facts.
But he's still not over atheism, so if you thought that was the mark.
To make some notes, that would be advisable. The first thing I will read to you is a verse from the Holy Quran, which once again,
wonderful.
I love that. I can't help it. You always love it when someone they put a little bit. I can't help myself every time that I speak of the Torah and the Tanka.
The idea that people who reject God know nothing about the universe. So how could they know for a fact?
That's not what we're saying.
They don't know nothing.
No, nothing.
Listen to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah An-Najm. He says, and I quote, وَمَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ. They have no knowledge of any such thing. Knowledge meaning certainty. They don't know for a fact. وَمَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ.
That's your definition of knowledge.
Once again, we know what the speed of light is. It is a fact. Could we be wrong? Yes. Yes.
You don't have to be absolutely certain.
There could be new data that comes in, and it could be that it changes. But it seems that the speed of light is consistent. And that's where all of the empirical data is. I don't know what else to say. It's not about atheism.
We know a lot of things, not with absolute certainty, but beyond any rational or reasonable possibility that they could be wrong. Oh boy, looks like Amy had either a blue screen or a browser crash, so hopefully it'll just be a browser crash and she'll be, oh, there she goes.
Damn you.
Browser crash.
It was a fun time. Good. Like I said, I had to, sometimes you need to sell timeshare.
At least it wasn't a blue screen.
Exactly.
Bigger meaning.
It's a lovely name. But We are debunking atheism, apparently. We really should be talking about God of the Gaps. I'm sure he'll get to it eventually.
He's working his way up.
Working it.
They merely follow conjecture. They follow their speculation.
Oh, is he talking about religion?
And conjecture cannot replace the truth.
Oh, he's talking about religion, right?
Conjecture or speculation and certain
religion.
Truth. Big differences.
That would
between
be funny.
These two.
Not hating, but it would be funny.
Conjecture is to make certain assumptions. Conjecture is to say, I heard a loud noise from outside the window overlooking the road. And so you make a certain set of assumptions based on that.
That it wasn't terrorists.
Might say that must have been an accident involving one or two automobiles, right? But you don't know that for a fact. Maybe that noise was as a result of construction work going haywire.
Should you be
skeptical? Maybe there's construction material, bricks being lifted, and they fall to the ground. Maybe the noise came from an explosion and a gas canister. Maybe the noise was manufactured. You don't know for a fact. And
how do you know that it was a god that performed the miracle? Maybe it was a hallucination. Maybe it was someone actually working to trick you.
So this is what's called conjecture. You make a series of assumptions based on inferences, right?
No, that's like a educated guess. That's not conjecture. Conjecture is just throwing something out there randomly.
If your perception was weak, if the facts are not presented to you as facts, then you could very much make a mistake. And so what Allah says in this verse is that those who tell you
what God says personally, exist,
they don't know that. Even they will be the first to acknowledge, again, if they were honest, if they were truthful with themselves.
Not like theologians.
They would acknowledge that they don't know that for a fact. They have no certainty of it. Allah says,
oh, we're honest. We say that.
Shay'a. Conjecture cannot replace the truth. When it comes to such incredibly...
Such irony is talking about religion, saying conjecture cannot replace the truth.
I know. I wish he would be this skeptical about theistic claims. Might not be a theist.
Religion is conjecture. A book says a thing and you just choose to believe it. That's the definition of conjecture. Looking, expecting, and wanting actual evidence is not conjecture. That's being a rational human being.
And keep on sending in all those comments. Tag James W. and myself at Amy Newman. We will try to at least greet everyone as they come in and out. And we are saying, Assembly God says he had 6 wives, though you can't beat that. Oh, you got great sale at the wife shop. But send in love also to Titans. Wait, he has more?
I haven't seen Peter lately. Wonder if he's hanging around.
Send in, that's right. Send in love to Gonna Go For It. He does produce a lot of fantastic content. He produces AJ. He produces R and Raw. There's always the third person that I forget, but he produces a lot of fantastic non-believers. I saw Flum also join. It says atheism is not the claim that God doesn't exist. It's the claim that I don't believe God exists.
Right.
And again, exactly. This is him trying to shrug off his burden of proof because they don't want to provide evidence. Because if they had to provide evidence, they
don't have any.
Theists. Yeah.
They don't have any. They want us to negate their claim when that's not how it works. You make a claim, you're supposed to support it.
Jenna says, I know with absolute certainty that I don't know if I have absolute certainty about anything. Exactly.
Very deep, Jenna.
Well, I often get
We know,
from
Ralph.
creationists that will be, well, I say, well, I don't have absolute certainty of anything. And they'll be like, well, do you have absolute certainty of that?
We know
but
that.
it is your evidence means nothing to us. Well, I mean, evidence means everything to, at least I believe, the two people on this panel. To many skeptics, to non-believers, it is the highest bar that we have right now.
He's just saying that because he doesn't have any evidence. So I mean,
I know if you have,
you don't have any.
If you
have
evidence, you present it. If you don't, you say maybe we should just go with faith. Not blind. I love that. And no PR, blind faith, none of that stuff. No. If you have evidence,
not gonna fly with
Newman.
Newman.
Evidence. But we love everybody out there. We're sending love out into the internetosphere. We're supposed to be talking about God of the Gaps, but we're apparently debunking atheism right now because he's a little bit triggered.
Created the universe and therefore gave it purpose, versus the fantastical fairy tale of atheists, which says
they
that
can't
this
help
universe
themselves.
was created by a random
and once
fairy
again,
tale, really.
This
a
dude
fairy
hates
tale.
fairy tales. That's mythologies. They're just so silly. They're just so silly.
Irony is lost on this guy. The fact that he's throwing fairy tales out there is really,
and that's what they the cult word, you just have a religion. They just can't help themselves. Eventually it comes back around to insulting themselves. They're like, hey, whatever language you want to say, you want to call atheism a religion and then say religions are bad. I mean, let's just go back to your thesis. Religions are bad. Okay.
faith is bullshit.
Yeah, faith is bullshit. Hashtag.
Forces, and therefore rendering the entire universe purposeless. When it comes to
purposeless,
incredibly important and enormous.
When I read that comment first, I thought Ralph was saying he loves waking up to Amy Newman. I didn't read the show part. Yeah.
You have to have certainty. You have to believe in.
Well, his wife might be a little upset about that.
And if you don't have sufficient evidence to give you certainty about the lack of God's existence, then you cannot simply dismiss that and say, no, we don't believe in God, when you don't know that for a fact. Listen to the second verse. It's incredible. This was in Surah Al-Kahf.
Burden shifting, huh?
Was verse number 25. And
I just wish they would present evidence
in Surah Al-Najm,
instead of attacking science.
Surah Al-Kahf. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ. They have no knowledge of this. Knowledge meaning certainty. وَلَا لِآبَائِهِمْ. And neither did their parents, their ancestors. كَبُرَتْ كَلِمَةً تَخْرُجُ مِنْ أَفْوَاهِهِمْ إِن يَقُولُونَ إِلَّا كَذِبًا. Allah says, grievous is the word that comes out of their mouths. This is a big, bold statement that you're making. By saying that I'm an atheist, meaning I know for a fact that God doesn't exist.
Once again, multiple levels of definition. I jokingly, though probably a nugget of truth, that, I would call myself a medium atheist. I do believe there are gods that don't exist. I believe the Abrahamic gods don't exist. And yet, I don't really care what the label is. You're talking so much about the label.
Right.
Please, just fill my gaps. Please, Daddy, fill my gaps.
Fill it up.
I have certainty that God does not exist, right? You are making a grievous statement that comes out of your mouths. Then Allah says, they say nothing but a lie. إِن يَقُولُونَ إِلَّا كَذِبًا. Because again, it's one thing to say that I don't know whether God exists. See, that's the difference between
which is what most
agnosticism and
atheists
atheism.
say.
An agnostic is at least honest enough, while he is incredibly ignorant, but he is more honest than the atheist who is devious. There's a difference
They
between
can't even help themselves.
Devious.
They even want us to
Devious.
schism. Yeah.
Devious, Amy.
Oh, so devious. If you're into
So,
that kind
so
of
naughty.
thing. Also, I am for, and what's up, the awoken one? They think God is great. I just am looking for an Allah snack bar.
Oh,
You know,
some
we
nice
all have
kebab.
our thing. Some nice kebab. Chicken, beef, whatever you're into.
being ignorant and being devious and demonic.
Devious
will say,
and
I
demonic.
don't know whether
Ooh.
God exists or not. I don't have all the facts. I'm not fully convinced one way or the other. Right? And of course, at that point, we can have a conversation. We can have an honest discussion about the existence of God, as we will do, inshallah, in the coming nights. We will present the arguments. We will talk about the arguments that prove without a shadow and a speck of doubt that God is the most
Excited about that, Amy?
undeniable fact
I'm ready for
in
it.
this
Bring it
entire
on.
universe. When the person is honest enough to say that I don't know one way or the other.
That's like the
But an
skeptic's
atheist
mantra.
says God does not.
In fact, you do say the gall of this gentleman to consistently try and be like, I wish the atheist would just say, I don't know.
Be honest with themselves and be honest that they don't know. No, we're telling you, we don't know.
Yeah. Oh, and Pat, I do love that. I love to bring that up. Anytime they ever go after anything gendered, it's like, you called your car a girl, and you really seem to notice that your God has to be a guy. And yet they seem to get, once again, very triggered by anyone that doesn't seem to prescribe to their views of gender and sexuality.
Well, they get triggered by uteruses. It's really uterus is very
entire
triggering.
female gender. I mean, what annoys me is the gaslighting that they try and do for modesty. Listen to me. If you are a lady who wants to dress modestly, girl, that's what we fought for. Be yourself. Wear as much as you want. Be as either slutty in the exact opposite direction or as modest as you want. Please use protection, in my opinion, and be safe and all of that. But also, if you want to have long-term committed relationships and all of the things that they are trying to latch themselves onto and try and say and control, then please go after yourselves, the religious holy texts, because really should just be what we want to do.
Unless you have an objective reason to say contrary, but an old book says a thing is not a valid reason.
Not a valid reason.
Describe morality.
What's up? Bzz, bzz, bzz. What's up, Brainbug? And I
always posting new content on his channel. Like Brainbug, he's always got new stuff pumping out.
Another fantastic non-believer, and yet I don't know, James. Shouldn't we be schisming? Shouldn't we be fighting? We shouldn't be. How dare us be so opening to
Brainbug,
people?
They're doing things on Bob Larson. They're doing things on Bible prophecy.
Bobo.
Yeah.
I saw a comment. I'm trying to blue. I will say, keep on sending your comments in, either on this wonderful gentleman or on anything that James W. and myself says at Amy Newman. I'm trying to find it, but Assembly of God said that agnostics are ignorant. And see, I feel like it really does sound unhumbling to say that we are being humble. I get that seems like an almost self-contradictory statement. But what I will say is we are trying to be humble by not putting in our own position or our own views when science currently doesn't have a view. Like, what does Amy feel like happened before the Big Bang? Well, Amy doesn't really have thoughts or feelings on it because that's not her field. So I
Amy doesn't know.
Amy doesn't know.
Amy's not a physicist.
Amy doesn't
Not yet,
know.
anyway.
It's a good movie. It's okay, Scotty. You can know now.
Does not,
Yeah.
meaning that they have definitive proof that God doesn't exist, which they can never claim to have. This is the biggest lie, which is how and why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so incredibly says that this is a grievous word. They have
also
no knowledge
send
of this,
in love,
neither did their
dog.
ancestors. They have no, this is a grievous word that comes out of their mouth. They say naught but a lie. They're lying, and they know they're lying. So what we will do, inshallah,
Send
in
in
the
love,
next
Don. Thank you for joining
few
us.
days and nights, over the next 5 nights.
And I
as
will
we
say,
explore
tacos
this
is basically our
incredibly
sponsor.
important discussion about the existence of God versus atheism and the arguments or the pseudo-intellectual arguments that are presented
Pseudo-intellectual
by
arguments, not like Kalam.
Not real intellectual
Not
arguments.
real
Yeah,
arguments.
like Kalam, or the ontological argument, or the teleological, the fine-tuning argument. When was the last time we did that?
James, can I ask, have you ever seen the trees?
I have,
cool.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, they're for God. Checkmate.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at the sewer system, I think of God. When I look at the slums of the third world, I think of God. When I look at the people dying of terminal diseases that could be cured by God, but he doesn't want to, I think of God.
There is scribblings on the walls of Auschwitz that says, if a God exists, he may beg for my forgiveness.
And that's powerful. And somebody who was being imprisoned in that deplorable place where millions or certainly many thousands of people died under terrible conditions. It's very sad, and it's very right. If there is a God, he has no excuse for allowing that to go on without intervening.
And I feel like this is Matt Dillahunty's point, but it could also add to the fact on top of that, that God may have been watching and enjoying it. You don't know, because he doesn't take any position.
Well,
doesn't seem to say one way or the other.
From the and yes, Brainbug, I am debating.
I was just about to bring that up.
Bring it up.
Oh, baby. When and where, James?
March 11th, Standing for Truth channel. Just about a month to go. I can't believe it's a month away.
Flies by.
Woohoo. But what I was going to say is, from either the Christian perspective or from, I would assume, the Islamic perspective, somebody who was an inmate in Auschwitz who was killed there in that place where so many people were killed, starved to death, beat to death, worked to death, gassed, whatever, however they came to die, that whenever they got to meet God, they would have much rather have gone back to that place, because God would have done way worse to them than the Nazis ever could have dreamed of doing to them, because they didn't have the right belief system. And apparently that's the worst thing you could ever do if you don't know the right thing. So, yeah.
The all-moral God. But if you just joined us, we are talking God of the Gaps, and this gentleman is almost on topic. We're almost there, ladies and gentlemen, because he's currently trying to debunk atheism.
We will discuss these, inshallah, particularly highlighting the major arguments and then debunking them in the process. And the reason I think this is an important discussion is because Atheism is now more powerful than ever.
Oh, I just want you to know the next few statements that come out of his mouth, are we talking metaphorical Christmas for me? Because I always love it when they just give us some victory laps. Why not hold us up a trophy?
You've got to put your hands up like Mr. Burns, Amy. Like, yeah.
Hey, some of them know better than others. I feel like every once in a while you get the theists that are like, nah, it's really... James, you know how hot it is to be in church and reading the Bible? It's like, it's the number one
Song
thing.
of Solomon.
All of them are doing it. Yeah, exactly.
That's right, Pavel. This guy is funny.
Social media.
He's a special case. This guy is.
He is. I will say, I really didn't expect this level of triggering. I thought it was just going to be right into those gaps, but you know, whew, does he seem to be filling us with something else?
It is backed by big money.
A
It's
factory
backed by,
guarantee.
Massive international conglomerates
Massive.
and corporations.
Massive.
Yeah. Once again, he's
It's
complaining
massive,
about
Amy.
atheism. I know. Yeah, the big, massive United States atheist conglomerations.
Not like the Islamic countries or the Catholic Church.
Governments and by influential politicians, which is why you see that a lot of our youth are exposed to these arguments at school or university.
They're being exposed to science.
Exploring social media.
Science.
And so it's important.
I like how he's like, when you go somewhere else for information, they get really corrupted into this atheism thing.
They don't give you Islamic talking points. Go figure.
We address them and that we try and debunk them, inshallah. The first argument that I would like to explore with you on this first night is an argument that is often presented in this very brief and seemingly smart and succinct form. Essentially, they call God, or at least
it's true.
The
not going to
God
hate on his
of,
beard. I love
the
a
theists,
well-trimmed beard.
Is it well kept?
That is key. It is well kept. You know,
the argument's quite simple.
Amy likes the bearded man.
It's getting a little long, but it is well kept. So I'm not going to hate where I don't need to hate.
That theists and believers and people who subscribe
also this channel known for its fashion
divine revelations, they only believe in God because there are natural phenomena that they cannot explain.
Oh, that's you.
And historically, the reason people have believed in
what
God
we're talking about.
Explain...
Oh, thank you. We hit the mark, ladies and gentlemen. So, if you've been watching us, he needed a 15-minute preamble to get on topic. So, we are talking, in fact, we are skeptic and ranting. You would think on debunking atheism, but no, we are talking about the God of the gaps, and he's just shoving as much BS in as he can.
So many things that happen.
That's my job.
And in order to fill that knowledge gap within them, in order to help explain those phenomenon and provide some kind
very much
some
an accessories
relief,
woman.
They attribute those natural phenomenon to God, right? Hence the title, God of the Gaps. Now, in order to debunk
we're okay with that definition so far.
And to undermine the basic premise behind this atheistic argument, we have to start with a number of important introductions. And I'll start with a definition, in fact. There's an expression, a term referred to as scientism. And scientism,
another word
essentially means that science...
I want just a PSA, ladies and gentlemen. You can't just add ist and ism onto anything you like and then just try and sell it as fear. Oh no, they took their medicine and flew on a plane and decided to craft parts for a missile so that they could go to the moon.
Right.
Like, there is no such.
And we're not saying science is absolutely perfect or that it's answered every question so far. It's just the best system we've ever come up with for finding out about the natural world. We've never found anything better.
Listen, if you need to look, you don't need to look at a science journal to figure out what flavor of ice cream you want. You don't need to look at a science journal to figure out what t-shirt to wear. You do need to look at a science journal to figure out how to combat viruses in your own body and globally. Like, there are certain things that you do need empirical data.
We do it better.
We do it better.
This is the only way to knowing the truth. You see, many of you will go to universities and attend lectures by these so-called intellectuals. And one thing that
also sub SS
continuously
1964
gets hammered is the idea that science
Somebody's getting hammered.
and doorknob head. That's right. On a good night.
Science is the only way
What are we talking about?
to know the truth, right? So this is what scientism actually means.
No, it's the best
so, for
possible
example,
way,
Bertrand
or
Russell,
one of that
who
we
was
know
a
of, to
foremost
finding truth.
logician, he says, and I quote, "What science cannot tell us, mankind cannot know." So,
And true,
again,
I'll give an important point to Brainbug. There are probably good biological reasons. I always say, like, if we were to look at why you give two people a choice, like an apple and an orange, you could say that it's random why they picked an apple, or you could ask them, say, go through their experiences. Maybe they like a certain one. Maybe they had a bad experience. You know, they got oranges poured on them as a kid or something. And so there are good reasons not why to have a empirical based system for a lot of the questions that this gentleman is bringing up. Another one, a definite one, is that we all see color differently, and yet our brains are trying their best to accurately pick up what the actual wavelength is. There is a real wave traveling and hitting our eyes, and our brains are just doing the subjective interpretation of that.
I'll tell you, being in Florida, it was always oranges.
Always oranges.
Always oranges.
I remember
Florida.
that's what we used to be for soccer. Everything oranges. They're okay. I'm more of a lemon and an apple type of person.
Lemons are amazing, yeah.
Exactly. A good lemonade.
Key lime pie.
Basic rendition of the idea of scientism, that it's the only way to knowing the truth.
Did it happen? But you're right. That was
about facts. Science. So what science cannot tell us, mankind cannot know. The problem is that despite the fact that Bertrand Russell was a logician and a mathematician, his logic really failed him when he uttered these words, right? In fact, this statement by Bertrand Russell is what we refer to as a logically incoherent statement.
No.
Allow me to explain why. You see,
sorry, what?
Is this statement a statement of science? In other words, do you have empirical evidence that empirical evidence, which is another...
No, that's the philosophy of science.
That empirical evidence...
You don't have to have evidence for it. It's just the philosophy of science itself.
Exactly. And you could say that science is based on things like logic and reason, data, even go further and start bringing in peer review. I'm sorry, it is not science proving science. Science is a methodology.
And you know what? If you have a better system, if you want to come up with something that better maps reality, propose it. come up with your system that makes better predictions than science, and your system would be the new science.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I doubt he's going to do anything like that. But
James, you want him to present his own data? That would
his own
take
model,
work.
yeah, right.
Means to the truth? Do you have
I was hoping
empirical
he said
evidence for
memes.
that?
Damn.
Do you have scientific evidence
Internet man.
to present that science is the only way to learning the truth?
It's not how it works.
You don't. See, the problem with this statement, and as I said, it's called a logically incoherent statement because if it's true, then it's false.
What?
I don't know if that makes any sense to you.
Because we don't have empirical data.
I like how he had to
support it,
take
yeah.
a second there. Even he was like,
He
did what I
chuckled to
just said?
himself. He chuckled to himself, like, okay, I get my game face back on. Brala.
And yeah, his data is most likely the Quran, which
He's already read from it a couple times, so why not?
really, holy books, holy, I love that word, are not a valid system of finding truth. They are
But
not
you
a
know what?
methodology.
If they made better predictions than science, we would acknowledge it.
We
But
would use them. Yep.
thus far, they have failed.
Science is the only means to knowing the truth, and that, as we said, empirical evidence is the only means to acquiring
Not the only,
knowledge.
but it would
And
be nice
the
if there was
best.
a little empirical evidence of your God. Wouldn't it kind of go a little bit of a ways if you could just
Empiricism, yeah.
pick God up, shake their hand, whatever gender, or if there's multiple gods, who knows? But there's no evidence
Empiricism
for one.
is the gold standard in evidence. It's the best type of evidence that you would, because it's not subjective. It's objective. Everybody can look at it and do the same experiment, get the same results. We can all agree, right?
Exactly. And I will have to say, if there was ever a stream where I just had to really give a shout out for the Normalize Atheism campaign, I think we could see why. Like, these people are the reason why atheism has such a stigma.
The most arrogant people in the world, Amy. The most arrogant people.
Apparently.
To reaching the truth, then this statement becomes false. As I said, it's logically incoherent.
I feel like he is trying. I'm going to try and be generous here. He is trying to say the concept of a logical incoherence like a square circle, where it would negate itself by its existence. That has nothing to do with atheism. So
he's trying to say that since that we're claiming that only empirical evidence counts, but do you have empirical evidence to support that claim? No, because that's the philosophy of science itself.
Yeah.
So he's trying to ask for evidence for something, for a definition, which is not how it works. It's not how any of this works, but he doesn't have anything else to work with. So.
But a holy book. A book said a thing, James.
Because this statement is not a statement of science, right? Because we have no, as I said, no empirical evidence to back up this statement, right?
I like how he's so happy. Again. Once again, can you imagine someone making a claim with no empirical evidence?
That would be crazy, Amy.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
That would be crazy, Amy.
Yeah, we can. Like,
who would do such a silly thing? All
religious claims ever. But thanks for trying.
Who would do something so silly, Amy?
I know. I could never imagine. Who? That would never.
So, far more sensible than Bertrand Russell is the Lebanese-born Nobel Prize winner, Sir Peter Medawar. Sir Peter Medawar, as I said, was a Nobel laureate. He wrote a book very aptly and interestingly titled The Limits of Science. Listen to what he says in that book, trying to explain and elucidate and elaborate on the idea that science is limited and deficient in itself. Science can never be the only means to learning the truth, to knowing everything there is to know in this universe. Listen to what he says.
I wish they would hand up this standard for their own beliefs. If they held, or if all of the creationists trying their gene shtick actually held that rule, that metric, up to their own beliefs, they would not be believers. They may be believers, but they would not be believers.
He says it is so easy to see the limits of science. How? In that it cannot answer the basic questions of a child. And he gives examples.
Because science can't answer why the universe exists.
And I will say there's lots of good videos out there on why questions are often not what we're actually asking. Because you could ask why gravity works, and we don't actually know. But we know very well how gravity works. And so
we don't know why.
It's generally what we are asking. And so why questions almost always lead to other questions. If you want to figure out how something is done, you need to go investigate.
Whys are subjective. It's a lot of it's a matter of opinion. It's whys are complicated, but hows are much more objective.
And that's right. Send in love, girl. We are getting there, climbing that mountain, all because of you guys out there sending so much love. It really does help when you guys subscribe, because each one of you is special to us, but not apparently in the special way that God is, because you guys exist. That is already a leg up. But if you just joined us, we are watching Debunking Atheism, specifically God of the Gaps, and keep on tagging us with your thoughts, questions, or one-liners with all of this wisdom at James W. and myself at Amy Newman.
Children, and you're trying to tell them a story or impart any kind of knowledge that you might have. But then they suddenly jump and they ask you a question that you weren't prepared for. And these are usually deep, probing,
boxes of briefs
questions.
Where do boogers come from?
But notice how these
are we there yet?
Will reveal the inherent impotence of science. And the deficiency of science. We're not against science, by the way.
I'm pretty sure there's a pill for that if you have a problem,
but we need to acknowledge the limitations.
The camera just zoomed up in on him. Wow, look at that. It like zoomed.
Got deep.
Yeah.
Now it's personal. That's his equivalent of taking his coat off.
As soon as he said impotence, like the camera just zoomed right in. Are you having some problems with the misses at home?
Have a commercial.
Look, man, we've all been there. You'll get over it. Or go to your doctor. I'm sure he can do something.
Has your deity not been contacting you lately? Have you been having non-answered prayers?
Are you having doubts?
Then maybe Godplex is for you. Godplex shuts off portions of the brain that say, hey, maybe I need empirical evidence for this belief.
No, blind faith is better.
Faith is better. Oh, it's blind. No, you just don't have evidence.
Oh, wait, time to do one of my 6 prayers a day.
I know. Another thing, once again,
I'll be back.
It's silly just because of it's a reductio ad absurdum. Like, the fact that you need to pray to God it may actually be that you need to pray to God specifically 5 times, but if true, it's still silly. Like, it's so random. like it's so human.
It's almost like they wanted to keep people busy, like so they'll have no time to question whether God actually exists or not. They'll be too busy getting on their knees and praying to him.
Oh my. That's right. When getting on your knees, that should be my job or yours
Well,
out there.
you do that enough for both of us.
Oh, baby, do I. All right, we are
Why am
debunking
I here?
atheism. Got it again.
Where did I come from? What's the purpose of life?
Once again,
No
meaningful
purpose. Yeah.
questions that religion doesn't actually answer. They give you attempted answers, but they are from actual other dudes. So you're just really just kicking the bucket back.
Conjecture, as he just told us before, what conjecture was, why the purpose to life is conjecture. Oh, I'm going to be a slave to a deity.
Might as well just worship him forever.
How can science answer these questions? Science simply doesn't have an answer to these questions, even though they're presented by a child, which tells you just how limited science in fact is.
Or that
Are we there
science
yet?
isn't trying to
Is
answer
that
those questions.
rationality is bigger than science. Rationality is what?
Rules.
Bigger than science.
It's actually rational to use science as one of your best metrics for discerning fact from fiction.
Which is why Einstein understood this fully. Einstein says that you can speak of the ethical foundations of science, but you cannot speak of the scientific foundations of ethics. In other words,
Ethics being
not something science is concerned with.
yes,
Again,
it is moral philosophy. That is literally the field. And so that's not what they're trying to answer.
which is why we say that morality is not objective, it's subjective. No objective because you can't test it. It's not science, something science can comment on.
And I'd say it's situational, but agree.
ethics is a discipline that is distinct from
Oh,
science.
you need some discipline,
In
Amy.
fact,
Oh my.
ethics is what guides scientific exploration. Ethics, that's why in research labs and university hospitals,
Been a bad boy, Amy.
He has been.
many
Also,
other-
do you notice what triggers him? Do you notice the specific institutions that really get in his gall?
What's that?
university hospitals and
Ooh.
many other scientific organizations and departments, you often have what they call an ethics board. And an ethics board usually oversees what the scientists do and what they're able to do, what they're not able to do, whether stem cell research is ethical.
You know what
or
you
not.
don't do?
So it's the
Ask a holy book.
ethicists that give guidance to the scientists and not the other way around, which is exactly what Einstein is talking about here. Again, this proves the fact that rationality is bigger than science, which completely undermines the premise of scientism, that science and empirical evidence are the only ways to learning the truth. This undermines all of that, right?
Not really, but thanks
In other
for
words,
playing.
there are realms
We have some wonderful prizes for you in the back.
go, right? So let's go back to the argument that's often presented by atheists.
Go back. Take us back
which
to a better
is
place.
summarized in the statement, God of the gaps. We said what that means.
Hey,
or what
look,
they
he's
try
almost on
to
topic.
suggest by
Yes.
He's working his way up.
that.
He's
I'll give
getting
you an
there.
example. They say that in previous times,
I just want to say the amount of QQ per quota in this video, just, you could fill buckets of tears. I wouldn't get a lot of meat out, but we'd get a lot of milk.
All about that meat,
we
Amy.
didn't know how rain worked.
Oh, am I?
We didn't understand the process by which water came from the sky.
And did we learn that from religion?
Because of that, we attributed this to God. We said this is a miracle, God is doing it, and Everybody was happy. No one had a problem with that. But then,
until those damn kids came along,
studied atmospheric physics.
Stupid dog.
And with science
Took us
advancing in multiple
so
disciplines,
Gizmo came along.
they then understood the process of precipitation. They
Yeah, and was that a natural process?
water vapor from the ocean
Or yeah.
would go up due to the difference in mass, and it would then condense in the sky in the form of clouds, and they would then, because of the difference in temperature and whatnot, that would then produce rainwater.
I'm just waiting for him to try and knock this down, because right now he just seems to be talking against himself.
You're going over the water cycle. Okay.
Yep.
I follow you.
And so once we discovered the process by which rain worked, at that point, we didn't really need God any longer, because that is not a gap in our knowledge anymore.
Dude, you just... That is God of the gaps. That's the point. Please tell me that you're going to try and knock this down, because...
And so, yeah.
It seems like he's saying there are God of the gaps.
And what we're saying is we think that the gaps that still exist in our knowledge that you're now attributing to God, we think, based on history, that we will find a natural explanation for those, and that God will be removed from those gaps too.
Sup, Seraphim? That's right, we can't help ourselves. It's just, man, the nonsense coming out of this gentleman's
rapid
mouth.
fire.
There is a gap that seems to be very wide and just spewing. But we're sent in love. Sent in love. What is up, John Edwards? Woo-hoo.
Woo-hoo.
And we're sending love to everyone out there. I mean, this is just a wisdom-filled,
jam-packed
video. I know. Hey, need to get some Muslims guests on Debate Me, Brah, against Apostate Prophet. That would be a great debate. I love Apostate Prophet. He is awesome. Consistently, I think the X's are some of the best
absolutely
people that we have in the non-believer arsenal. Is that
Mubarak is very good on Islam.
Is exactly a dog.
Materialist Dan for Islam,
for
or no,
he's
for
the next Catholic. Materialist Dan is next
for
Mormon.
Yeah. So Sinister Porpoise.
I have a thing, a Sinister Porpoise. She goes after Mormons because they know the religion. I go after Judaism because I know the religion.
Oh.
What is up, Mark? And let me tell you, the wisdom that we have been spilling, because this dude, he can't stop talking about us. He can't get us off his
He's
lip.
very triggered. Very, very triggered.
And while I wish it was me specifically, it's just atheists. He doesn't seem to comprehend them existing.
They want evidence.
Oh, yeah. Should get Mubarak on Debate Me, Brah. He would also be amazing. We need to get more Muslims. If you're watching, if you're like, these damn heathens, infidels, non-believers, they're just talking so much smack. I need to put them in their place intellectually. Come on and tell us. We'll give you the spot, the voice to say so. And if your ideas are better than our own, they will just last. They'll survive that market. Randolph says, Amy and James, if you bring a Apostate Prophet on or someone else for a debate against two, please bring me in to partner up. Then that is, of course,
Randolph would be good for
the
that.
godfather of atheism. Would be. Maybe some good cop, bad cop going on. I like it.
You know, he's got that his famous pictures of the Kaaba with the LGBT banners on it.
And hey, you know, we don't mind blasphemizing. We are apostates. I think James and I ourselves, we're both ex-theists. And, you know, I will have to do it. So we're going to just very quickly, we have this is our friend. That's Moses. You can tell because I put Moses right
Charlton
there.
Heston. Yep.
And then, I'm just going to do a little Jesus over here.
Another guy who never existed. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Jesus, there you go. We got Jesus. And then I just want to get our main man, Mo. And
Muhammad.
yeah. And so here we go. We got Muhammad right over there. And I want you to know that all stick figures, all three of them, are happy. They're actually happy. They're all sharing a cup of coffee and just having a good time. Irish coffee. And so I can't imagine anyone being angry that I would draw such happy stick figures drinking coffee. And yet, religion, folks, this is what it does to people. It makes things sacred, quote unquote, where they shouldn't be. You should be able to draw whoever you feel like within the, please be artistically responsible and draw amazing things. There you go. Don't violently do anything. Don't punch anyone. Don't, don't block someone from praying or doing anything like that. And yet, you can't stop people from drawing. You can't stop people from... a pet peeve of mine is Islam doesn't have they're not big fans of instruments that have strings. And I'm fine if you don't like stringed instruments. I'm not going to make fun of a cappella music. Go for it. But don't tell other people they can't. And if you're the majority, don't tell the minority they can't either. Because that's the other shit I get. Well, if you're going to tell a Muslim community that they can't follow Sharia law, yes, you should be following secular laws. Religious laws should not exist. Full stop. Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, anything you want to say, anything you want to call it, and thus the minority, it doesn't matter. That way, if it's a like in Iraq when there was a ruling Shia party, even though the majority was Sunni, it doesn't matter who gets control. It always seems like someone seems to pick on the other people. And the only way to stop that is through a secular government who doesn't pick favorites.
You want to be Shia? Okay. You want to be Sunni? Okay. Do your own thing. Yeah. You do you.
Can you draw? Randolph has a request. He wants me to draw rainbow scars on these three stick figures. It's important that they protect themselves from cold bursts of wind. I feel like that is definitely a request that we can do, and I feel like they are going to be highly detailed. Just let me get some shading in here, get a high render. And then there we go. They all have lovely scarves. They're at a coffee shop just talking about the Big Bang Theory, the TV show specifically.
They're waiting for Pride Month. Yeah,
that's right.
They're ready to go.
Waiting for Pride Month, because they actually got it wrong. So in a lot of holy text, it says stone gaze. These three gentlemen would actually like to remind you, they had it all wrong. You guys shouldn't have wrote that down. You're supposed to get gaze stoned. Got to pay attention. It's about
Amy. We'll put you in charge of that.
I know. Whew,
Amy's got that on lockdown. She's good.
There we go. Look, we like to be pleasers. I like to feel we're really just trying to do services here.
Woohoo.
Woohoo! And all right, we are talking God
More
of the
wisdom.
Gaps. We are skeptic and ranting.
Right? Our knowledge is now complete. We fully understand how the process works, how the mechanism works. We don't need God as an explanation of how it worked, right? The problem with this is that it is once again an incredibly absurd and ludicrous statement.
How?
Sir Isaac Newton discovered gravity and created a
Isaac Newton, by the way, a genius, but
Brilliant man, yeah.
believed in his alchemy as much as he discovered gravity. And so you need to take everything with a grain of salt, some context, and not just believe it because of the person, but because the person actually did a proper methodology. And
They have data to support their
a mathematical model to describe the underpinnings of this incredibly important force in the universe. He didn't then say, well, I can cross off God because I now understand how the apple falls from the tree. He didn't say, which is a myth, by the way, but you get my point. He didn't say that we no longer believe in God because now we understand how gravity works. Instead, he went back to his lab and he
something
wrote
I would like you
one
guys
of the
to
most
do.
brilliant works of science.
Yeah, you're always sending them back to the lab.
Yeah.
Mathematica.
Hutt's back in there.
In which he explored the mathematical descriptions of gravity so that the thinking man could also believe in God. The one who lacks knowledge will attribute the natural phenomenon to God. Fine. Now the one who has knowledge, the one who understands how gravity worked, is also able to appreciate the work of God. You see,
I mean, they're just attributing it to God without any evidence. They're just...
Let me give you a quote here, right? Stephen Hawking says that you must choose between gravity and God. Once again, he is resorting back to scientism. He is saying that since we now understand how gravity works and how different bodies in the universe are attracted to each other, thanks to gravity, thanks to the gravitational pull, therefore, we don't need to believe in God anymore. But why? Why does it have to be either or? If I told you...
Does it have to be?
If I said, here is an incredibly
also like
fast
to see that
car.
quote.
Let's say the Bugatti Chiron Supersport or the Koenigsegg Agera.
Okay, we're starting to learn what his hobbies are.
Or the SSC Tuatara.
Not
now,
that he
these
knows
are
any
cars that are approaching the previously mythical and downright impossible 300 miles per hour speed limit. Okay? These are pushing the envelope. These are some of the fastest cars in the world today, production cars.
Okay.
And then I said to you, explain to me how a chunk of metal can somehow produce an engine that has 1,750 horsepower and can propel all of this mass to such exceedingly incredible speeds. And I'll give you two options. Option number one, it is the law of the law of internal combustion. And number two, it is Mr. Jared Shelby. Now choose. Your response would be, what a absurd notion that you have to choose between one or the other. Either it is the law of internal combustion, which is the mechanism that underlines the way these cars are able to function.
Actually get to the God of the Gaps? Are you just going to complain about atheists?
And to go at these incredibly fast speeds.
Or should I say get back to the topic, please?
Jared Shelby, who was the
We
designer.
get it. It doesn't disprove God. But you still haven't given any positive evidence for him.
Putting all of this together, designing it and making it work. Why does it have to be one or the other? Do you see what I'm trying to say? In other
we
words,
see it.
Really?
both of these answers are equally correct. One
I get your point. I
explains
just think it's
the law
silly.
of internal combustion,
Yeah, it's silly.
explains the mechanism by which the cars are able to drive so fast. And the other is the agent.
And you know why the car can drive fast? Science. And you know what doesn't have any effect on the science of the car going fast? Religion.
Yeah. What did they learn from the Quran to do that?
Of the car. They're both equally accurate. They're both logical answers. So the idea that it has to be either or is completely absurd. In other words, now that we have a scientific explanation for how rain develops, now that we have a scientific description of the way gravity works, does not negate
Stop attributing it to God.
the need for a designer, does not negate and do away with the need for an agent responsible for the mechanism.
There's the agent word. I think that's the first time he's thrown that one out.
The
They love that agent word.
mechanism. In fact, the more complex the mechanism, the greater the need for who? The agent responsible.
Oh, look at that.
Big
You're
Green
right.
Bird throwing some punches over there.
Oh my,
Which
it's
is why
getting
the more
spicy
I
in
learn,
chat.
brothers and sisters,
Also sending love to Big
the
Green
more
Bird.
I discover, the more knowledge I acquire,
Oh, I'm sorry.
the more
Vegetarian bird, please. I need to respect all of Yahweh's creatures.
Oh, I am left at the grandeur of the creator of the universe. The more amazing and the more humbling it is for us to sit at the majesty of the creator of the universe. Because previously, when we didn't know how rain worked, we didn't have an explanation, it didn't
we
seem like a
sacrifice goats to a
complex
god.
thing. People might have prayed and then the rain would then come.
Yeah.
So,
Now,
it's not
did
very
it come from God or did it come from
Once
the water
again,
cycle?
It seems like every once in a while he just makes a point against him and just keeps on going.
Because he's like saying, yeah, we know how the water cycle works. It's not God. The water evaporates and condenses, forms clouds, and then it comes down. We know that. It's not God. But then God's behind the scenes
not God.
in another dimension doing it all. I don't know.
That's where he's doing the 4D chess at. That's why you can't see it, because it's out there somewhere.
Now that we know how complex it is, now that we know how many different forces have to come together for rain to actually develop,
right
and for
now
water to come down
under Yahweh.
and
my,
nourish
that's
the
right.
earth and cultivate the land and produce all of the vegetation and sustain life as we know it.
It all works without a God, buddy. I'm sorry.
It
all works. It's all natural processes that work.
In the presence
No God required.
Knowing that the agent responsible for this.
Oh man, we got 2 votes for him sounding like Dinesh D'Souza now. We got 2. Man, Dinesh, when I think of Dinesh, I would crown him the king of word salad. Like, I could put Italian dressing over everything
Over
that he
him?
says. Yes, over him.
Even more so than John Maddox, even.
Ugh.
And he is a word salad guru in his own right.
Rain is so incredibly wise, so powerful, so omniscient, so omnipotent,
So omniscient.
Like, so omniscient. You wouldn't.
In
fact, I don't.
Einstein, another quote.
Oh, that's also him
he
too.
Says the
Deepak
only
Chopra.
incomprehensible thing about
that's
the
true.
universe.
Okay. The king and queen of word salad. You are absolutely right.
Is that it's comprehensible. help you understand what that means. In other words, he says that the one thing that baffles me about this world,
What? What baffles you about this world?
and I can't explain it,
Well, try.
is that I
Yeah,
can
do your
somehow
best.
Thank you.
understand this universe. I can sit down and speak and marvel about the...
They love the word meta so much. You ever heard the word metadata? Please learn what it is. It means data about data. It is a thing, and yet it's not supernatural or paranormal or even, dare I say it, metaphysical.
I mean, we can use our brains and understand the universe as much as our brains will allow us to comprehend it. Yeah, there's probably a lot of stuff that our brains are not able to comprehend and that we have not evolved to be able to understand. But those answers are not going to come from religion. It's going to come from...
There's not answers in Genesis? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, even... I love Aaron Ra's quote on that. He said somebody got the wrong answers in Genesis.
And also sending love to Answers in Atheism. Sending love to Speed's channel, which Scott Duke hangs out on. And we're sending a lot of great non-believer content out there, ladies
but
and
wait
gentlemen.
a minute, we schism. We're always attacking each other.
We infight so much. Sorry, look, that I think we got 3 votes for Deepak Chopra. And then we got, looks like, we got a second. We got for Jordan Peterson close behind. Nasuda could be 3rd place contender, though. We're going to have a word salad Olympics, ladies and gentlemen.
John Maddox, honorable mention, I guess.
Exactly. They're going to have to put it to the test. Meta is beta.
Meta-ontological, teleological argument.
And I will say, the 2 people that are why I'm here are George Carlin and Christopher Hitchens. Both you could say had a great sense of humor. One, I guess, comes with the job, and just Christopher could win over an audience that hated him. And so, an amazing individual who left us way too soon. Sending love out there. But yeah, if you just joined us, we're making it through. That we can't help it. When someone claims that they're debunking atheism, James knows that it's basically Amy bait.
That's
so
almost like irrefutable or absolute proof.
Yeah, and then every once in a while, he's also talking about the God of the Gaps. So, that's nice of him.
Exquisite nature of this universe. He says, I can't understand that. Why? Because, and to
I'll tell you when you're older.
Saying, how could a chunk of nerve cells and goo that is the human brain, how could that even begin to speak about the marvels and the miracles of this universe?
Literally.
That's the only thing that can speak about them.
Literally the only thing we know of that can is our brain, of this narrow branch that we call of life that we call animals. It's like when they ask, who are you to judge? Literally the only people that can judge that we know of. We are the agents.
It's like when they say, like, you mean to tell me the love you have for your mother and your father, your spouse, or your kids, it's just chemicals fizzing in your brain? Well, actually, yes, that is. That's what it is. If you don't like that, okay, you don't have to like it, but that's still reality. I'm sorry if reality bothers you.
Yep. Sorry if the truth somehow makes you go into denial. Says Hitch was a Mitch. Hey, I think Hitch was amazing. Probably a good example of a healthy toxic role model without toxic masculinity. But don't let me get too feministy, because I love I'm an egalitarian. I just love
He can go down that road very easily.
Well, I mean, it's hard. When you put the Bible, I am going to look like a gender studies major when you put me up against the Bible. But I mean, the Bible is like, let's all go to the movies and stone some people to death. So,
go make me a sandwich.
Oh, look, everyone needs a good sandwich, James. Everyone needs a good sandwich. It's just men and women can make them now.
Oh, okay. So let the Sayed
to rephrase what Einstein.
Please rephrase. And someone was saying earlier, they're like, "What is with?" I think someone was saying, "Why does Einstein seem to be such this?" It's because they latch on to whatever deist they can, and it's always deism. It's never, or at least
he wasn't a theist. He wasn't a Muslim.
Yeah, they kind of attach themselves to Newton, but Newton also believed in some weird ass shit. He'd get no true Scotsman all over the place. But yeah, they attach themselves to people like Einstein because he is a deist who used metaphorical, wordy language about what he didn't know and is really the exact opposite from this guy. Sandwiches, I mean, great place to put your meat.
And is saying here is how could a chunk of nerve cells and goo that is the human brain even begin to talk about these
wait
incredible
I can show you how. I got a buddy for you. You know, we teach this thing in school, but if you didn't know what goes on in the brain, well, we have these buddies called neurons, and their job is to send signals throughout the brain. Amazing. I don't know, and I love that they try and make it like goo. Just when they say like, "Oh, we came from pond scum" and all this stuff, they try and minimize the reality into something trivial instead of, "Oh, you're saying we came from dirt, stardust." Yeah, pretty awesome, actually.
It's great to be alive. I don't know why. Great to be alive. I don't know why that has to be such a is reality.
Marvels of the universe.
It's great to be stardust.
Marvel. How could we begin to appreciate the beauty, the exquisite design in this universe?
But why can't you do that without acknowledging the dude? I mean, you can look at acknowledge the beauty and wonder of the universe, but not believe in the dude that they say made it. I don't know.
It's a good name. I like it.
How could a human being as deficient as I and everybody else even discuss these concepts? That
with your mouth.
Perplexed Einstein. He cannot fathom for the life of him.
What else can you do with his mouth, Amy?
Oh, we are able to comprehend the universe.
The things I'm thinking.
Marvel at its beauty. And the answer, by the way, to the conundrum that perplexed Einstein is found in the Holy Quran.
Oh, really?
Oh, we got the rub, ladies and gentlemen. We're starting to get it.
Here we go. Here we go. The answer Einstein could never find is in the Quran.
Funny how he just kind of tossed Einstein away. That took a minute.
Karramna bani Adam. We have truly honored the children of Adam.
Okay.
We have given them the intellect. We have given them the ability to think. We have given them the rational judgment by which they can make deductions and understand the world around them.
No.
Imam al-Hussein, alayhi salatu wassalam, says in Dua Arafah, the dua that's been attributed to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, he talks about this. And he says, Ilahi, ana al-faqiru fi ghinai, speaking about his deficiencies and his inadequacies and his weaknesses as a human being.
Probably be talking to a psychiatrist about that.
I am poor even when I am rich.
Oh, okay.
فكيف لا أكون فقيرا في فقري.
Yeah, that's what happens when you don't invest your money properly.
I'm actually poor. وأنا الجهول في علم.
Don't be like Gavin. A couple few divorces will wipe you out.
Exquisite design. What the? Like a lion eating your Muslim ass. Awesome. Yeah, I would say that they never really factor in the negative sides to natural selection. They are like, look at the trees, and then they're like,
The world can,
but don't mind the swamp that also, you know, George or whoever died in.
the world can be an incredibly harsh and unforgiving place, and for everything that is good, there are a lot of things that are cruel.
Yep. Nature is a harsh mistress.
Me, I am exceedingly ignorant even when I possess knowledge.
Oh, we already knew that.
How could I then not be ignorant when I am actually ignorant? Ilahi minni ma yaliqu bilu'mi. Oh Lord, what comes out of me?
Oh my. There's almost too many jokes. Well, I mean, it's just too much of a setup that I'm
walking
just like,
meme. Yeah, it's like the tennis ball machine is going on fully automatic.
James, when it comes out of my mouth, just moving forward.
All the things that come out of you, Amy.
My malevolence. وَمِنْكَ مَا يَلِيقُ بِكَرَمِكَ. And what comes from you is something that befits your benevolence.
It befits your benevolence, Amy.
What's up, Leophilius?
Sending love. Oh Lord, when virtues emerge and surface from me, when I do good things, then it is by you.
You did a good thing, Amy.
Oh my. And you have every right to say that I gave you this. وَإِنْ ظَهَرَتِ الْمَسَاوِئُ مِنِّي. And when vices emerge from me,
send in that love right back,
come out of me. فَبِعَدْلِكَ وَلَكَ الْحُجَّةُ عَلَيْهِ. It is by your justice, and you have fulfilled the proof upon me. إِلَهِي مَا أَلْطَفَكَ بِي مَعَ جَهْلِي. Oh Lord, how benevolent and kind and compassionate are you towards me and my ignorance, despite of my ignorance. وَمَا أَرْحَمَكَ بِي مَعَ قَبِيحِ فِعْلِي. And how merciful are you in spite of my evil actions. You know, if you see someone who's acting like a child, who's not being righteous or good, and is exhibiting evil behavior, you throw them out. You let them be. You turn your back to them. You leave them alone. And yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sticks by us and looks after us and shows us nothing but mercy despite of all of these evil actions and malevolent deeds. وَمَا أَقْرَبَكَ مِنِّي
Preaching at that point, but okay, continue.
Oh Lord, how close are you to me and how far
not that close
from
me. Damn it.
ما أرأفك بي فما الذي يحجبني عنك. Oh Lord, you're so kind and merciful towards me. What is
merciful, Amy?
Me from having access?
So merciful.
And that shields me from you and makes me distracted and away from you.
Is it a big pair of never
This
mind.
Is the point I was leading up to.
Nice of him to get to it, right?
The eye.
I was going to say there's a specific kind of shot they call this in porn. So are you getting us there? Is that what you're talking about?
You.
The geld shot?
Looking after it. وخسرت
It rhymes
صفقة
with
عبد لم تجعل له حبك نصيبا.
Money shot.
And at a loss is a transaction which does not encompass your love as part of the deal, as part of the trade.
Oh, we're making a
In
deal.
other words, without
Yeah, I
great.
want
Someone
love. I want like the
find
girlfriend
trumpers.
experience, Amy. I
Okay.
want like the GFE.
All right, hold on. Let me write this down.
Is that extra?
All right, we get a GFE.
How much
Yeah,
extra is that? Yeah.
It's included, but only if you're into butt stuff.
Oh,
So, damn it.
Book for two. Double it up.
Yes.
Book for two.
And they say there is no God. So merciful with these virgins after I die. Thanks, Allah. That's right. I always love a religion that promises you other human beings after you die. Like, I know there's no evidence, so I guess you can promise them whatever you want. You get a new Ford Taurus. You get a new whatever you want. What do you want? You want a building that's a 70 skyscrapers tall? It's all yours. I love the way sending love to James from Modern Day Debate, who says juicy, but also SS 1964. I used to have a joke. You really want 72 pairs of teeth around your... I know, no. Why virgins? You'd think they would want 72 experienced women who really know what the hell's going on, but they really don't think these things through. They really don't. Sending love no matter what gender you are, though. We're actually coming up on the last few minutes. At maybe the last 5 minutes, we will start to open up the open mic. We're only going to have maybe like 30 minutes or so of fun, but we want to let you guys say what's on your mind because, man, this has been a heck
Rapid
of
fire
a
wisdom.
ride. I know, just so much wisdom leaking out of his gape hole.
I mean, you need to practice on your shake weight, Sammy, for this one.
I do. It is. It's getting me excited that I have to keep all of these pots up at once. And I have to say, if we were talking gymnastics, I mean, he is a world-class mental gymnast. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. He would be. It's not the Summer Olympics; it's the winter, but he would still get the gold medal.
And that link is. I'm getting that link ready. Probably about 5 more minutes. Let's do about halfway of this, and then we'll send it in there.
Open it up.
Sup, Doomver. Woo-hoo.
That damn northern
and
aggressor.
Of course, if you disagree with us,
if you think this guy is making a lot of sense, if you think he's right, hey.
Have in this world is all meaningless. It's all worthless. If God isn't in the equation, if God and His presence is not taken into account,
well, then it's meaningless. It's worthless in your eyes.
Continue our discussion on the ludicrous arguments made by atheists in the coming night.
Ludicrous argument.
Right. I want to.
He can't help himself. Like he could have just talked about the God of the Gaps. Just spent the whole video just really going into why the God of the Gaps is not an argument. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm struggling to remember an actual argument put forward by him to why God of the Gaps is not a valid argument. It seems like he has both complained about atheism and thus also tried to give short explanations of what God of the Gaps is, but like with the water cycle, but he didn't explain why we should reject that type of thinking.
Oh, because science can't answer everything, Amy. And then he said, well, science can tell you what gravity does, but it can't tell you why. You need a different tool for that.
Oh, you need an older tool. And no, that's
really his argument. That's his argument, that you can't answer the why questions.
And Mark, I mean, you would think so, right? That's got to be fair. We should be getting 72 men up there. We got to train them. Once again, I guess we got to train them ourselves. That comes with the V card, but
they're not patriarchal.
But at least it should be egalitarian. We should be getting some hot guys. We should be getting some holy Chippendales up in there.
A person who, despite her young age,
True. Maybe it's just too rapid fire for him.
Is living proof of the existence of Allah subhanahu wa
ta'ala. I'm sorry. Say that again.
Yeah, go back.
Is living proof.
Yeah. Okay. Go back a little bit.
Rule 3, ladies and gentlemen. Let's
in the coming nights, but tonight I want to take you to a person who, despite
blow me away,
is living proof of the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Oh, great. We're ready.
Am, of course.
James and I are ready to be Muslims.
The daughter,
ready to be reverts, as you call them.
Hussein, the 3-year-old orphan of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein.
Who?
Whose devotion
to
the truth, despite her young age, remember, whose love for Abu Abdullah.
Oh, I'm ready for it. Bat this argument up, this logic and wisdom. I'm ready.
Today.
The boss is ready.
Centuries after the fact, after her death, lonely and desecrated and deserted and desecrated in the ruins of Sham. Her name is proof of God. How?
Why?
Because in spite of her loneliness, in spite of the oppression to which she was subjected, despite the fact that they killed her with a vengeance and tried.
Who? I don't know who he's talking about. Obviously, he's talking about a child that.
Know who they're talking about, but if you're talking about a child and the statement is they killed her with a vengeance, and you are using that in a premise for why God is real, you got some serious problems to work out. I'll draw with a small brush about your argument, but please work on them.
It's not that small.
Yeah. Holy moly.
Eliminate her and her name from the face of existence.
Is this like going towards martyrdom? Like they killed a 3-year-old and then everyone was like, we need to convert to this religion because that would still be horrible. Please get me there to somewhere better.
Today, the city of Sham is proud to have the grave of this 3-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm trying to soak it in.
They're using the death of a child who was killed for whatever reason as evidence. Yeah.
So a city is honoring a dead girl. I can't look down on that, but evidence of God.
I can't imagine what a 3-year-old child would ever do to deserve to be killed under any circumstances. That is a tragedy, but that does not mean that it's proof of God.
It's proof that maybe humans are decent and we try to remember the dead. Well, actually, it's proof of
humans are both
the opposite. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's proof that humans are both
humans
cruel, and horrific, but then also
kill people for no good reason.
But then we remember the dead. It's one of the reasons I like humans, because we actually take the time out to remember those who were with us.
And by the way, Allah could have stopped it if he wanted to, but apparently it was part of his plan.
Take us back to the Holocaust, but
yeah,
he could have saved that little girl. He could have not had a lot of good individuals gassed.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm waiting for
avoided the whole war altogether. Just
to where this dude says something. It's just like, oh man, it's so beautiful. This sounds horrific. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for it.
Orphan there, the capital of the Bani Umayyah, where the green palaces bejeweled by the Umayyad kings, built with the most cutting-edge architecture of the day and beyond, no longer remembers Yazid, but remembers who? رقية سلام الله عليها. She is living proof that God is watching over this world.
No.
That the creator of the universe would not let
this is like
injustice.
1 plus an orange equals God. I what?
And we get it. It's a tragic story of someone being killed in a cruel way for no reason. It's a tragedy, but it's not evidence of the supernatural. You could find things like that across every culture. And yeah, when 99% of people hear about a child being killed for it's a terrible thing, and I think almost everybody would agree with that it's a terrible tragedy, but it's not evidence of the supernatural. It's evidence that sometimes terrible things happen.
And not that it matters who is offended by what, but I do find it a little offensive if this is what you are using as evidence for
It's like
God.
pandering.
That is ridiculous.
Because almost everybody, their emotions, their heartstrings get touched when they hear about a child being killed in a barbaric and cruel way, especially. And but again, that's not objective evidence for God. That's evidence that bad things happen.
And if
people
anything,
do bad things.
I would say not to go down that route, but couldn't we say that is evidence of not a God? Because it seems like horrible things happen to good people.
Yeah, bad things happen to good people. A lot of people don't deserve the evil that befalls them. And you'd think if there was a God there, that would be different.
Yeah, but once again, this is the logic. World-class mental
What do we
gymnast.
know? We're arrogant atheists, Amy.
Exactly. It's all that arrogance.
That even if it's a 3-year-old orphan who was murdered mercilessly by her captors, that her name is honored, that her remembrance is glorified, that people will continue to flock in the millions to the shrine of this little orphan of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam.
I mean, there have been how many tragic stories like that have happened over the years of people that are forgotten, unfortunately?
There are many horrible things. Like, I often ask Christians if there was a better sacrifice out there, something more horrific, would they count as something better than Jesus? Because my example of that is that ISIS used to crucify children upside down. Think about that for a second and ask yourself, is that the morality of God? Is that an objective? Is there something seriously messed up going on here? Is this seriously the failed logic of a fallible group of apes, which is what we are?
Fallible, yeah.
That really just did something horrific, and that we really need to come to terms with that we do amazing and horrible things. But yes, there are sacrifices out there, worse things, people much worse than Jesus. Not saying that being crucified is a good time, because let me tell you, that's a terribly painful way to die.
It's a very cruel
way of state capital way of doing it. So it happened in mass. It wasn't just Jesus. It's actually, I feel bad for anyone who was crucified.
Thousands of people who were crucified over the years, yeah.
And it makes me wonder what this sacrifice is for. I know that Muslims don't believe in that sort of thing, but it just seems like a waste of pain and suffering for no reason.
Cruelty.
Cruelty. But yes, we are sending love. I can't help
7
it.
minutes
This
to go.
this
We're
guy
almost over.
makes me so serial because
Yeah.
of such a horrible story that he says with glee. And so he's
He's
supposed
using
to
it as
talk about
evidence
the
for
guy with
God.
gaps, and yet I am really finding him debunking his version of theism.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry. Episode 2 is
Made
morality.
Even better.
By the
Oh
way,
boy.
in the Indo-Pakistani culture, she's referred to as Sakina. But in fact, regardless of her name, she was the 3-year-old orphan of Abu Abdullah. And what's truly special about her is that she was the first person to embody the statement of Imam al-Zaman.
This better be good.
The link-
You did post-production editing and added in music. This better be a great point.
Between her and the 12th Imam. You might ask, what is that? She embodied a statement uttered by our 12th Imam, Ajjalallahu ta'ala faraja. What's that statement? Many of you are familiar with it. It is in Ziyaratul Nahi, in which Imam al-Zaman says, فَلَئِنْ أَخَّرَتْنِ الدُّهُورُ وَعَاقَنِي عَنْ نَصْرِكَ الْمَقْدُورُ. If my grandfather, Ya Aba Abdullah.
Also, you can hear the a cappella. If you think that's a flavor just because it's Middle Eastern, I think we all stereotype that. It actually is put forth by Islam because, once again,
Those
no
damn
stringed
stringed instruments. Yeah. They're work of the devil.
The epics of time separated me from you, and I couldn't physically be there to defend you. وَلَمْ أَكُنْ لِمَنْ حَارَبَكَ مُحَارِبًا. And I couldn't be there to fight those who fought with you.
Trying to.
وَلِمَنْ نَصَبَ لَكَ الْعَدَاوَةَ.
I don't think she said this. She was 3, but I'm trying. You're now just preaching. You're just preaching from the Quran. I understand, but like
from a very emotional perspective, very
we have definitely left scientism, I guess, because we are somewhere far and away from the rain cycle.
ناصبة. And to show enmity towards those who showed you enmity. فَلَأَنْدُبَنَّكَ صَبَاحًا وَمَسَاءً وَلَأَبْكِيَنَّ عَلَيْكَ بَدَلَ الدُّمُوعِ دَمًا. Then I will remember you and mourn you in the day and the night. And I will cry for you instead of tears. I shall shed blood out of my eyes.
blood out of my eyes? What?
Like, I'm not going to shame nobody for doing karaoke. All I'm saying is, this is not evidence of a god.
Blood
We're
out of
not
his
debunking
eyes.
atheism. Yeah, what the hell?
Blood
I
out
know. Yo, Comrade Jerry, for reals, if this is the best that Islam has to present, then I don't think there's 2 reverts on this channel tonight.
Well, he took a swing at debunking atheism, but it was a swing and a miss. Yeah. Yeah, he didn't make it to first base.
Which is a shame, because it's always good when things are getting hot and steamy. I always like to, get to second.
Wood.
I like to, if it's a good first date, you never know what base you're going to get to. What were we talking about?
Swinging wood.
Swinging wood, baby. In fact, it's about to be 5 minutes. We, as Dr. Strange would say, we're in the end game now. So I am going to be sending in the link. Do not pass go.
Do not collect 200 virgins.
Today, Satan. Or tomorrow.
Today. Yeah. Both.
But it's been a hell of a ride. And if you agree, disagree, or not, you're going to be able to tell us what you thought about all this wisdom.
Just keep your pants on.
Out of grief for you.
He's a riot at karaoke now. That
over what befell you. What else? وتلهفا حتى أموت. I shall do so until I die بلوعة المصاب وغصة الاكتئاب. I will cry until I die.
I think he just gave up on the God of the Gaps and Debunking Atheism
I will
thing. He's
cry
like,
until I
let's just
die. What,
sing.
his girlfriend broke up with him? He's sad. You'll get over it, buddy. Come on.
Embodied the statement of Imam al-Zaman, because she was the first to cry for Aba Abdullah until she faced death.
At 3.
Allahu Akbar. Throughout the journey, she had prepared so many things to say to her father. She was probably thinking that when I see him, because remember, she didn't know that Abu Abdullah.
She was probably thinking, I want apple juice.
Every time she asked for her father, she would be told that innahu fi safar, that he is traveling, meaning that the trip of the afterlife. She didn't know what had happened to him. Last she saw of Abu Abdullah.
Why are they even sad? If they believe in it, if they believe in an afterlife
he never
too.
Returned. He never came back.
He went to the liquor store and never came back.
Happened? She was anticipating meeting her father. Some have said that perhaps Abu Abdullah did to his daughter what Rasulullah did to Fatima al-Zahra.
That would be funny.
What was it? Rasulullah, remember the famous hadith? He told his daughter that I will die soon, but that you will be the first to join me, which is when Fatima al-Zahra was delighted. Perhaps Imam al-Hussein said that to his daughter Ruqayyah to give her a sense of comfort, that you will be the first to join me, my sweetheart. And so she anticipated that reunion with her father. And as the journey progressed, that treacherous, painful journey where they were beaten and they were humiliated, she must have thought to herself, as soon as I see my father, I will complain to him. As soon as I meet my father, I will tell him about my bruises. I will tell him about the lash marks. I will tell him about the
I'll say no God exists.
I will tell him about my blisters. I will tell him how they wounded us. I will tell him how they refused to give us water for so long. I will complain to him of what they did to my Aunt Zainab.
I know. The crocodile tears are strong.
Of what they did to my family members.
Crocodile tears.
He is anticipating that reunion so that she could say all of these things to her father. Only when she saw her father's severed head, she forgot all of that. Instead, she addressed her father by saying, Abba, oh
the
father,
severed head.
من الذي حز الرأس الشريف? Oh Father, forget about my pain, forget about my bruises, forget about my blisters,
ladies and
forget
gentlemen.
about the lash marks. Father, tell me this, who decapitated your blessed head?
Jesus.
Oh Father, من الذي خضر
Oh my God.
الشيب الشريف? Oh Father, who died?
By the way, ladies and gentlemen,
who dyed your beard?
Now, what do you want to put your stake in? Science or?
Who made me an orphan at this young, tender age?
God, technically.
Is karaoke over?
If we're really counting score.
وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إلهنا وسيدنا ومولانا.
Yeah, I'm not sure how this defeats atheism.
We beseech you in the name of the orphan of Abu Abdullah.
You ready to throw science out?
To hasten the reappearance.
You ready to be done with science?
Oh, I guess so. I will say it is like Scientology, though. It's like, you know, he's not gonna put the Muslim preaching until the very back end, because then no one would watch it, because it's preaching and religion. And all right, I think that's gonna wrap us up.
Make us at his beck and call. Oh Allah, make us among his sincere servants.
We have, hold on, we might become Muslim. Here we go. Here we go. It's about to happen. I feel it. I feel it. Oh.
You're gonna cry tears, Amy.
I got a little tingle in my groin for a second, but now it's in my leg. So it might just be a blood issue.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
we made it.
We made it. I don't know. James? Brother James, are you a Muslim now?
Well, I'm not. Gizmo might be.
Gizmo? Yeah, Gizmo. Were you convinced? He doesn't look convinced.
He doesn't look too impressed.
But wow, that was... You told me that it was a doozy, and
it was a doozy. Yeah.
My gosh! Oh, it took 3, which is respectable. I feel like that is the amount of alcohol that it takes to get through that wonderful. I'm going to call it a sermon, a apologetic. It wasn't evidence, that's for sure.
A lot of whining about atheism and whining about evidence and then some preaching.
And then some preaching. He had to put the bow on it because, he's like, if you listen this far, might as well try and sneak that Muslim thing in at the end.
I mean, a terrible story, but it has nothing to do with the truth of Islam. I mean, you could find acts of cruelty and barbarism in virtually any culture in the world. It doesn't mean, unfortunately, there's any purpose to it.
And it reminds me of the Christians who would just sit there and say, will you die for a lie? Will you die for this?
Christians who were murdered in the Colosseum. And maybe they didn't know it was a lie, but they thought they were dying for what was true. It doesn't mean it's actually true.
It just means you die for something you believe is wrong. In fact, they're almost muddying the water when you say die for a lie, because a lie implies intent. I was trying to trick you. More likely, they die for being wrong. Something is untrue, and they die for the belief in that untrue
lie.
Thing. Exactly.
And like Pat says, it's the biggest lie ever told. Religion.
I think it's the #1 superstition in the world right now.
The biggest lie ever told, religion.
That's right. Welcome, brother. Ready to take your shadida. We are Skeptic and Ranting on the God of the Gaps. You wouldn't have known it from our opposing view, but he spent way more time on debunking atheism. But we are actually about to go swing into about 30 minutes, a good bite size of open mic, because we want you guys to tell us what you thought about all of that. Exactly. About all of the wisdom. And boy, G. Gilligers, was it a lot of wisdom. And we have
almost too much wisdom.
Mark already behind us backstage. So I am going to show it one more time on screen. If you would like to join us, I'm also going to pin it in chat. But we are going into the open mic, and Mark is starting us off. Woo-hoo! On tonight's Skeptic and Ranting, God of the Gaps. What is up, Mark? And I am so happy to see you joining us. In fact, I see Randolph, Pat, Megan, all sorts of lovely people are starting to join.
Oh, wow.
So with that, I am going to ask you, Mark, we are Skeptic and Ranting, God of the Gaps. When you are done, please let us know. But we want to know, has your atheism been debunked tonight?
It's on shaky ground. I got to say that. No, it's not. This is. I came in late, so I got to admit that I may not have had the whole context. But from where I came in, it was really weird. It was like he wasn't so much debunking God of the gaps, the fallacy that which is sort of the argument from ignorance. He was more doing a demonstration on how to actually perform that particular fallacy, because he touched on it again and again. And one of the first things that I saw him say, and I must admit this might have been midway, so maybe he did some rock solid arguments before, but he said God is an explanation. God isn't an explanation. I mean, it is in a certain sense, like magic can be an explanation, or spirits can be an explanation, but it doesn't actually explain the process, which was weird because he himself pointed out, oh, we know the process from science. And it's like, yeah, but we don't know the process from God, do we? You've got no explanation to how the actual process works. You just say God. I think Matt Delahunt said it best. You can't solve a mystery by appealing to a bigger mystery. All you've done is just kick the can down the road. All you've said is, well, here's an explanation that we still don't understand. You haven't presented an explanation. One answer is physics, and then you claim God created physics. That's just an unsubstantiated claim. It's just, you could say anything at that point. Magic created physics. The flying spaghetti monster created physics. You could say spirits created physics. And this is where he's demonstrating he keeps leaping into this God of the gaps and falling over this fallacy again and again, because he's like, well, where does physics come from? And he's basically saying, why are physics the way that it is? Why is the natural laws, why do they behave the way they do? We don't know. But you've got this gap in saying, well, how else except for God? It could be a billion reasons. It could be extraterrestrial, alternative dimension aliens programmed the simulation of the universe this way. You have to have evidence for the thing that you're putting there. You have to have evidence for God. And that highlights God of the gaps. Just because we have a gap in the knowledge of why physics are the way they are doesn't mean you get to put God in there. And he kept doing this again and again and again. How could we speak of marvels and miracles? Well, we don't know. It's a gap in our knowledge. It doesn't mean you get to put God in it. And I love when he's talking about the brain. He's like, sort of, nerve cells, and that's a little reductionist, don't you think? That's like saying, well, your computer is just copper and metal. How could it possibly transmit me over the internet? It must be God. Just because you don't know how the computer exactly works and all the systems work together doesn't mean you get to put a God to say, hey, the God or the spirit or the flying spaghetti monster is actually causing that to happen because I don't understand it. It may just be that that's the way it works. And maybe you don't know the reason, doesn't get you the right to say God. And it was funny because he was talking about this long-winded ignorance, and you have a right to say that knowledge comes from God. And it's like, no, you don't. That's exactly God of the gaps. When you say, oh, well, I am ignorant, and ignorance and knowledge, you have a right to say that knowledge comes from God. No. And just because your book says you have a right to say it doesn't mean that's true. I don't know. This guy was, and then of course he went into the 3-year-old orphan being killed as somehow debunking God of the gaps. I think he was more sort of just saying, hey, here's this bad thing that happened and God must exist because people still talk about it today. Well, it was a really bad thing that happened. Yeah, people may talk about it long after the event occurs. That's the thing about bad crap that happens.
Tragedy, yeah.
Right. That's like saying, well, 9/11 happened and we still talk about it today. Well, yeah, it was really bad. That's not exactly unusual, especially when you have a religion surrounding the whole deal. And the music and everything, obviously an appeal to emotional responses. This to me, and this is the last thing I'll say, this to me doesn't look like it was any kind of rebuttal for atheists. This looks like it was designed for other Muslims to feel correct in what they think, and to sort of give them ammunition to face an atheist on the God of the gaps, which always, that God of the gaps always annoys theists. It annoys them unbelievably because it's such a vulnerable part of their arguments.
Don't have a good response to it. Yeah,
they don't. Yeah, and so it always ignores them, and they talk about science of the gaps and evolution and anything else to sort of try to bring themselves on equal footing. But they've got this real problem with the argument from ignorance being a gap in their arguments, ironically. But it doesn't prepare anybody for having a conversation with atheists, because these weren't good reasons. They're reasons that would only appeal to someone that already believed or doesn't understand what God of the gaps, the argument from ignorance, actually means. So, this was sort of more, and I think Amy was right. After you mentioned it, I got to agree. I think it was more a chance to preach, and not only preach, but preach to the choir, as it were. Preach to people that already believe, rather than trying to preach to people to bring them on side. So
reassure them, like, hey, don't worry about God of the gaps. Don't worry about it. So it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to bring up these gaps and then say, how could it possibly have happened if not God? Which is the exact fallacy that you're trying to argue against, which is, I kind of feel sorry for whichever Muslim watches this and goes, oh, yeah, that's an airtight argument. How could nerve cells and goo possibly have comprehension of all of these marvels and miracles?
Yeah,
that's God of the gaps. That's exactly the fallacy that we're pointing out. So
it's just brain fizz.
Yeah. Yeah, but computers are just, electrons whizzing around.
Oh, I know.
Possibly display my face on the screen. It's inconceivable. Must be God of the computers.
If they have one good thing, it's that creationists are really spectacular at taking like the most amazing things in the universe and breaking them down into like something horrible. So it's like, it's not that we came from the volcanic thermal vents that like Yellowstone Park that are national treasures here. It's that we come from pond scum.
Right. Or, they don't mention that, the science sort of says that we're all, all of our atoms were fused together in the heart of dying suns, and then, we joined through accretion, and then, these amazing things. They just skip all over that. And they look for a real straw man, because, obviously you're talking about abiogenesis, and the pond that would have existed then is nothing like a pond today. It would be a completely different chemical makeup than what we have today. So, the straw man ariseth once again. But they do create a real nasty straw man upon occasions. Absolutely.
You missed the first part where he said that atheists were the most arrogant people in existence because we don't believe in God.
Oh, he's met me. Okay. No, I don't think that saying that you don't know what the origin of. I think that saying that you absolutely know is the arrogant.
That's the arrogant.
Yeah, it's sort of claiming knowledge that you haven't really justified by able to present the evidence to support. I think that's the arrogant position, rather than sort of going, well, we've got no reason to believe this. If you can prove it, sure, go ahead. We're open to that. But if not, we're not going to believe it because it lacks evidence. Not to say that you're 100% wrong. We're not saying that. We're just saying don't believe it because it has no compelling or even semi-decent evidence to back it up.
Get better evidence. Get better claims. Yeah.
Right. And if you can, then we'll start to believe you. But this wasn't good evidence. It was just Yeah, just another sermon from another theist,
A
unfortunately.
cluster something, as some people would say out there.
Truck, yes.
Yes. Thank you so
But
very
he
much.
does get the gold medal for gymnastics, mental gymnastics.
Oh, that's a bold statement, mate. I've seen some pretty big backflips out there. I don't think he would have the gold medal. He might take a bronze on a good day.
Bronze.
Maybe. Yeah.
But he was trying his hardest, and that's what's really important.
Good
Yeah,
try.
But well, the thing is, like stuff like this, you've got to watch it and say, okay, it's aimed for Muslims that want to challenge that argument. And how well are they going to do if they actually pay attention to this? They're going to do horribly, right? Because it's just not a good argument. And so I really got a feel for anybody that is sort of bilking. I wonder if this is Muslim clickbait kind of thing, you know? Click on here and be able to...
It was. Well,
yeah.
If it
You
was
can own the atheist. Yeah.
Yeah.
About 70% him trying to debunk atheism, about 20% of God of the Gaps, and a nice 10% at the end of preaching with just a little bit of a spice of a horrific story of a girl being murdered. Heartwarming, really.
Appeal to emotion. Yeah. Yeah, just scattered on top like you're salted with the emotional argument. Beautiful. Theist masterpiece, culinary masterpiece.
And thank you so very much, Mark.
No, thank you.
And we are going to roll down. I get the feeling what's going to happen is we're going to give everyone intros, and then we're going to give everyone outros. And it's going to be a fantastic night.
Okay.
But thank you so very much, Mark. Couldn't agree more. I guess, once again, we don't have a revert, but, we're going to keep on trying. Pat, welcome, brother.
Welcome aboard.
Because I assume that you have converted. We have been skeptic and ranting on God of the Gaps. Pat, what are your thoughts?
Well, first, I want to say thank you for James and you doing this show tonight. I needed it. I also want to say
all did, yeah.
This diatribe is brought to you by Modella, the beer of ranting. So what I've done during the course of this episode, kind of drunkenly hitting my computer keys, is I was very impressed by both his references to Newton and to Einstein. So I made a detailed, systematic search of the interwebs database. And first I looked up the force calculator, good old F equals M times A. And I studied it for several minutes, found no God there. Then I went to the, gravity, calculating gravitational force. I looked at the gravitational constant, the fact that, you need to know the mass of object 1 and object 2, and then the distance between those two objects in order to calculate that gravitational force. But again, I found no component or no value for God. And I thought, well, man, maybe Einstein, right? Because we got Einstein. And I looked at the good old E equals MC squared. Again, that pinnacle of Einstein's, physical framework. Nope. I looked at mass, speed of light, energy. No God there. So despite these guys' personal beliefs, they actually never put a value for God in any of their equations. So they never felt it necessary to include God in any of their actual theoretical frameworks. So I just thought that would be interesting to point out. But I think it's important to get other people on. I'll go to the back and whatever you need me to do, or I'll wait and whatever you want to do. But I'm ready to complete
Cheers,
my
Pat.
diatribe. Please, yeah, exactly. You guys take care, and I do want to see any theists you want to come tonight. It'll get a little spicy. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh, that's right. Send it
Come at him.
out there and a call.
He's ready for you.
Looking for theists or anyone that just generally disagrees with our view. Send in love, Pat. Thank you so very much.
Pat.
Of course, the resident archaeologist of the channel. And all right,
because you have one. I just want people to know I'm the resident archaeologist because
Pat,
one.
that doesn't stop
you.
you from being my
You're
favorite
still the best.
archaeologist.
The best archaeologist on the channel.
Exactly. And sends in love. And we are Megan, adding down. We are skeptic and ranting on God of the gaps. We're trying to find, I would say, Assalamu alaikum, I assume, because you converted. That's right, to Islam, I assume, in the past 30 minutes or an hour or two. And if not, God of the gaps, what's your thoughts? Oh,
Can you hear me okay?
we
the
can.
devil.
Okay. I thought, a lot of what he was doing was just kind of taking a lot of his own methods and projecting it onto us atheists, just kind of
basically
like it doesn't have to be either or, but then, making a proposition that's either or. So just kind of, flipping the script a lot. Other than that, I don't know. It just kind of sounded like the usual, typical spiel. Yeah, but so yeah, I just thought I'd come and hang out. I didn't have a whole lot to say really about it. I thought I pretty much said it during the actual.
Thanks, Megan.
That's okay.
During the actual thing, yeah.
I thought you were making great comments. I'm just happy to have you there.
Yeah, I'm just here to hang out, pretty much. So.
Woo-hoo. Well, thank you so very much. And yeah, he tried to make this like this was this mind-bending thing, but it really just seemed like run-of-the-mill theistic claims all the way until his own very specific thing at the very end. It's just like at the very end,
Cue up the music,
hey,
Amy.
Islam.
Cue up the music.
Here's one of my favorites. Make America great again.
Or some people, they're all saying, I can't even, some people are saying the best things. And all right, thank you so very much, Megan. I have to just shout out, love those effects. And we are moving right down the line, and then we'll have some open discussion and then head into outros before we get into the Discord for the after show. But Curly, we are skeptic and ranting. We are talking God of the gaps. I hope you are doing well. And what are your thoughts about the video or just anything we've been talking about?
Yeah, I'm doing just fine. It's good to hear from you guys again. I appreciate you making the show tonight. My opinion is like that dude was hilarious for the most part. Obviously, theologically,
say that last part one more time.
He was hilarious.
Oh,
I was cracking my ass up. But no, but the problem with most of the Islam discussions you'll get into is they believe in first of all, their book basically describes a faulty cosmological system by definition. Whereas you might say the Bible describes the same. I disagree, obviously. We've had this conversation. That's fine. But that dude is so succumbed into his circle of just, you got to be a Muslim. So I appreciated what the guy before said, where he was saying it really feels more like a marketing for Muslim people. And like a confirmation bias, an extreme confirmation. Because even for me being a theist, most of everything he said is just hilarious. So that's what I have to say about him.
Hey, I couldn't agree more. And thank you so very much for joining us, Curly. Yeah, it's always interesting to see why people believe. And I guess my expression would be he's really drank the Kool-Aid of whatever his very specific version he's pushing.
Oh, he's chugging.
All right.
Yeah, well,
the
scary part about people when you get to level, I don't know who that guy is, obviously, but I understand when you get to levels like that, the question is, does he really believe? The obvious answer is obviously not. He doesn't believe a single word he's stating. And he's just there to keep his life prolonging. Because quite frankly, if you really believed in a God who is going to burn people in an eternal hellfire, like you could not be giving, a talk on YouTube about like whatever.
Well, I will say it is weird when people are excited about others going to hell. That is like the weirdest thing.
And like he's shitting on the atheists, he's like every other word is like these people are just ignorant, and because a part of him literally like wants you people to burn in an actual fire forever, and that's because he's an evil human being for the most part. But it's sort of the problem is it's just built off that type of indoctrination. So I can I have nothing to disagree about the arguments. I think they're sort of ridiculous. I think the idea that anyone's going to prove God beyond what he's already given to us as the evidence in his prophet and in his nation and in his book and in Messiah and in his holy people, like that type of thing. I don't think there's going to be any more evidence required because, frankly, I don't think we need to do this. And so I'm like, okay, I'm like chill with everyone, atheist or not. I like to hear from you guys if it changes.
Well, we are just glad to have you here. Thank you so very much, Curly.
Yeah, I thank you guys. Yeah, I appreciate the honest conversation.
Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. And we always love it when theists come on because we are just trying to get as many different voices as we can. And we dislike echo chambers. We like hearing all sides. And all right. Before we go into open conversation, we're just going to get one more person in, and that is Randolph Richardson. Randolph, the godfather, that's right, of atheism. Tell me when you are done, Randolph, and then we'll just take it all into the open floor. But we are talking God of the Gaps. I assume you didn't convert to Islam tonight?
None of this was convincing to me, so no, I haven't. I remember at the beginning he's trying to define atheism. It seemed like in a number of different ways, and he does what a lot of theists do, which and I see this a lot with Christians as well, to state that atheists believe this or believe that. There's a whole set of things that we believe. They're very desperate to. It shows that they're desperate to put us on the defense. They want us to take any position at all that they can push onto us, and they'll make assumptions like they'll take an idea in science that they don't agree with, and they'll say all atheists believe this, and then they expect us to defend it somehow as if we're defending atheism. Atheism needs no defense. It is an intrinsic freedom for us that we don't hold these beliefs. Some atheists do hold a belief there are no deities. They do carry a burden when they want to convince people of that, but this is entirely optional. You don't have to as an atheist. And this is the point that I find a lot of religious people have trouble with. And so they'll often try to get us to take on some kind of a burden, because to them, they want to even the playing field, so to speak, so that if they're having to defend something, then we have to defend something as well. And if it's a belief on their part, they want it to be a belief on our part. So that way it masks and hides the insecurities that they harbor about their own religious faith. And that's where I'm going to leave it for now. His singing at the end was kind of had me thinking, oh, yeah, okay, so it's a death cult. Talking about severed heads and things in the lyrics of what he
Yeah.
It was just
very graphic.
Yeah, it's a death cult by the sounds of it.
And it reminds me just that they seem to flip these. There are just some things in religion that I think in any other context would be horrific. But when you put it in a religious context, of course I'm going to give my life for him and I'm going to follow him. And just things like statements I don't think would be made in a non-theological context.
Yeah. So, hey, thanks for having everybody on. Let's go into the open discussion.
And that's right. We're going to have about 15 more minutes of open conversation, and then we're going to head to outros. But if you want to have even more open conversation after that, we're actually going to be having an after party on this subject at the Discord, which is in the link below. But with that, I want to say hello to our deck tonight. We are talking God of the Gaps, and we also witnessed a guy try really, really hard to debunk atheism.
Like so hard.
Did he though?
Oh my.
Did he though? How would you debunk it? It's God of the Gaps.
I think that maybe Kent Hovind might have him beat on that, or maybe Darth Dawkins at one point in time thought he had the atheist song. Debunking Atheism.
Well, presuppositionalists just assume that the gap isn't there in the first place, that it's already been filled to start off with, so they just pretend the gap doesn't exist. I don't know. I suppose you could use an abductive argument, but yeah, it's the argument from ignorance is there for a reason, because it does.
His claim that atheists are arrogant it always amazes me when that argument comes up, because I wrote in the chat earlier when he was saying that, I apologize to everyone. I didn't know I was arrogant. I'm very sorry.
We're literally the ones who say we don't know everything. We don't even have enough to make a good guess at things, you know?
I think for them, it's to them it's so obvious that there can't be any other answer than their favorite deity and their god, in this case Allah, or Allah. I'm supposed to pronounce it apparently, and so to them everything else seems like an arrogant affront to that.
Listen, Randolph, you don't need another fatwa out on you.
Exactly. I just want to point out to Megan that Darth Dawkins is the Vanilla Ice of Christian apologetics, or maybe possibly Flava Flav. I'm just, you know.
Well, they make this argument. They say it is fundamental and necessarily, It's fundamentally necessary that this ultimate power exists, or something like that. They're like, it's fundamental and ultimate and necessarily exists because I say so, basically. But they won't admit it's because I say so. They just play this like mental gymnastics game with like philosophy and like I don't know. I went through a philosophical point in my life, but I mean, it was probably about 2-3 years ago that I just started to realize it was all like crap. Like it wasn't getting me anywhere. It was running me in circles. And like I started like hanging out on the ACA and stuff, and watching a lot. Like I'm a huge Matt Dillahunty fan, and I just like I mean I went from being like 90% philosophical to like now like 1%. Like I just don't think that much about it. I'm like there's, I mean you learn about it in like basic psychology, like our brain development, about the question of why, and I mean, when I finally saw Matt, I think it was probably with him that I saw where, eventually, I don't know is the correct answer. That is an acceptable answer. And
especially if you don't know.
Well, I think there's two really important answers, and I think you're absolutely right. I don't know is a great answer, and I don't give a fuck is another really important answer. Like there are some questions that we just don't care about. Like, because we don't know, we don't care. And I think they it's important to keep that framed, we don't know, but is it really important to know?
Can I say one?
It is important to them.
That some things don't have applicability to your current life, but I think on the whole, humankind has been spurred forward by saying we don't know and we want to find out. I think that not knowing but caring that we don't know has been a major driving factor in our history. So I just don't accept that not caring is sort of a answer, because it's not.
One thing I want to say real quick is as pertaining to Islam, one of the differences between that and the Christian, the Judeo-Christian Old Testament, New Testament, is that basically they're required to hate non-believers. So even if
I heard it, Pat.
Yeah, so even if they're pretending to like you, it's really because they just think that they can actually flip you to their religion, which is like it's like manipulative dark side sort of thing. Whereas the Bible, I will say the Bible says those who say there is no God are fools, meaning people who walk around and say, "There's no God." I know everything. Like versus saying, "I don't know." Like there's no way you could ever prove something like that. Like that's a real difference.
Well, actually, there is a part in the Bible that instructs people to kill. Instructs on the killing of people who don't believe. Under 2 Chronicles, chapter 15, verse 13, it says that whosoever would not seek the Lord God of Israel should be put to death, whether small or great, whether man or woman.
Sure, the nation of Israel
Isn't it
existed long ago, and it was abolished and
If I pick up a Bible in a church today, I can find that passage in there.
Yeah, but it doesn't apply to you. It applied to Israel as it was written to them.
Is it in like Exodus or Deuteronomy even that it says to like kill your own kids if they won't if your kid's a skeptic and refuses to believe that you're supposed to like take him outside the village and stone him to death? Like it's in one of the old ones.
Yeah, if you break the 4th commandment, which is like dishonor your parents, then you have to be killed. Which is, look, I'm not telling you. The point is the law was abolished. The whole nation of Israel was required to do what they did because the argument is I'm not talking like supernatural necessarily, but some metaphysical principles to the universe require God to be able to work through this nation in order to save everyone, every single human being to ever live, including all those people who broke the law and had to be killed.
And that was the best way you could come up with to do it, I guess.
So
that's the argument.
My reaction to Christians on that argument about defending the Bible on that passage is that, okay, if that passage is no longer applicable, why hasn't it been removed from the Bible? It's still there. There's a problem. Some nut job is going to read it and execute people. That's the problem.
And they do.
Well, they executed Christ. That's what happened.
Okay.
So
I guess
so it's still in the Bible. There's a lot of horrible.
So that's my point. Is
and it's still used as a book where that sort of actions and moral guidance is applicable. It's still used for that. Like I do see a lot on the 10 Commandments and things like that. So the whole point is, if it's no longer applicable, why not take it out of the rule book? I think, I don't want to misinterpret what you're saying, Randolph.
Sure. What I'm saying is all of the law, the law was fundamentally abolished. Look at Colossians 2:14, Romans 4:5, 1 Corinthians 15, 2 Corinthians 15:22, things like that. The law, our God made the law to expose our depravity. And then he fulfilled the law himself, and he abolished the law, taking it away, saving all mankind through doing such, through his righteousness applied to every single human being. Anyway,
looks like he's ready to say something here.
You guys go.
Yeah. For a start, it never says abolished. It says the law was fulfilled. Secondly, it's outlines
blotted out
for not following the old laws, which is to be known as lesser in heaven. It says that that's what will still happen if you do not follow all of the laws. So instead of them
blotted out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us because it was a curse for us. This is why the entire Christian.
Can you give me that chapter?
Look up blotting out the handwriting. That should be enough. Okay. Blotting out.
But if it's that's so clear,
that word
then why do most Christians not take that interpretation?
Because the entire Christian church is the prophesied whore of Babylon. They've kept sin here. There's no sin. He took away the law and sin. Sin is the transgression of the law. Keep going.
You keep saying that they take away the laws, but those things are still in the book. On our legal system in Canada, if something's removed from the law, it gets removed from the law. That's it. You don't see it there anymore.
Yeah. Like in the history books? The old covenant is completely done away with.
Bible's not a
new
covenant.
I think they just kind of reach a point where they're like maybe that was supposed to be hyperbolic. Like that's always that's hyperbole, Like Dr.
That's the only physical
God virus.
That was the only possible way that God could save mankind. It was by sending his son, who loved every single human being equally and distributed his own life unto them as a sacrifice.
I think that's sick.
Okay, that's fine.
I think that's an example of depravity right there.
This verse is not 100% clear. It says, "And you on the dead of your sins and the uncircumcision of your flesh, he has quickened together with him, having forgiven all your trespasses, blotting out the handwriting of ordinance that was against us, which was contrary to us, and took it out of the way, nailing it to his cross, and having small principalities and power, he made a show of them openly, triumphing over it. It doesn't. So this kind of language is very poetic and can be interpreted in a multitude of different ways. There's nothing in there that says, hey, the previous law is abolished. You're interpreting it that way. I get that you're using a lot of, well, this means this and this means this, and interpretation and different types of interpretation, but people would disagree with you on that interpretation, and people would outline where Jesus said not a jot or tittle of the law will be changed until everything has come to pass. Also, it outlines the punishment for not obeying all of the old laws. All of the old law was that you will be known as lesser in heaven. There definitely was a punishment there.
Of course there was. There was the nation of Israel. He said, not one jot or tittle will pass from the law until all be fulfilled. He did fulfill all righteousness in the law, and he nailed both hands to a tree, winning for you and me. Okay? The law was abolished. That's what that means. Blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us. That's the 10 Commandments. That's the law.
So why do we look at the 10?
No.
We
Okay,
don't.
first of all,
False
the 10
prophets.
Commandments is not the law.
Yes,
It's part, right?
That's
so
the Torah.
it's one of several hundred.
Well, it's the
laws.
most important piece that it deduced all the other ones into those
Why,
10
if it's
pieces
being
that was
blotted
placed
out?
inside the ark.
Why
It
is it
was
so
placed
important
inside-
that it's being
George
blotted out?
Carlin reduced those 10 into like 2 or 3 commandments.
And he did it very well.
Yes, he did.
The only commandments
Why would it
left,
be important if it was blotted out? Why if it doesn't apply anymore is it so important?
it was the schoolmaster to lead the Jews unto the Savior.
Well, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, hey,
what
all
Paul
of the old law is gone, but we're going to keep part of the old law.
No,
You can't
no law.
have it both
No
ways,
law.
because then it's all up to interpretation about
Right,
what we keep and what we throw out. And this is what we're trying to point out with these kind of interpretations, because the law is not codified in any way like we have in modern legal systems. It is so up to interpretation what those verses mean, what we interpret as still holding and what we interpret as being destroyed. And that's the problem.
Right, I'm saying none of the law is still holding. Not one single jot or tittle. It was all fulfilled. It was all nailed to the cross. It was
No, he
abolished
said
by
not one
Jesus Christ.
jot or tittle would
How
be
did Jesus Christ
He doesn't
save
say
the
that
world?
all would be changed.
How did he save the world? He took away sin. Read Daniel 9:25. It says the Messiah is going to come. He's going to make an end of sin and transgression. John the Baptist said he's going to
Really?
take
Is
away
sin-
the sin of the world.
So there
Who is preaching sin in this world?
Are
It's
you
the
saying there's
Christian
no?
church.
Are you saying in a Christian context today, your theology is there's no sin?
There's no law. There's no sin. The only sin that's left is the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. Read Matthew.
I thought you said there was no sin left. How could you say there's no sin except for this sin?
Sin is the transgression of the law. Google
Well,
that.
yes, there was no sin. But
There's
Sin
no
is
law.
transgression. Sin is transgression of divine law. So if there's no divine,
Yes.
there's no such thing as sin.
There is no law. The law was fulfilled for every single human being to ever live, and it was posted to the tree. God saved the entire world before the foundation of the world. That's the gospel.
So
God
there's no
came-
sin. So
There's no
with there being no sin, we're all good.
Yes, you are all good.
So does
I'm
anyone?
not here to evangelize. You don't need to believe what I'm saying.
Well,
it's cool.
It's just fascinating because we hear a lot
I
about
know.
the eternal punishment that awaits those who sin.
Yeah,
And
that's
a
not
lot
real.
of Christians, I'm not putting beliefs on you, but a lot of other Christians we've spoken to sort of go, well, you've sinned against God and this punishment awaits, and they talk a lot about sin. But you're sitting here saying, well, there is no sin, and it's a lot different than the usual,
Right.
claim.
So a lot of Christians will claim that they're born again, right? That's a big deal because that's what gets you to heaven. If you read 1 John 3:9, it says, whosoever is born again doth not commit sin, for he cannot sin. For his seed, meaning the word of God is his seed, remains in him. You cannot sin. Now they have changed those verses into, whosoever practices a daily life of sin isn't born of God. No. The point is, if you understand what Jesus Christ If you understand what Jesus Christ did for you, you understand that you cannot sin. There is no sin. There's no law.
Christians would disagree with you on that. And
They
that's
are all
Yeah.
false prophets. That's what I'm telling you. That's
No, it
that's
depends
all.
on the denomination.
That is
to
all prophecy.
believe
Revelation
To be
18.
fair, you need to give credit to Curly here for not falling for the bandwagon fallacy.
Yo, look up Revelation 18. Where's
I
the
will give
sin?
credit for that, sure.
The sin is only in the Christian church, my friends. That's what I'm telling you. Look up Matthew 12. I think it's Matthew 12, 22 maybe, or 23, 22. He says
I'm curious.
all sin will be forgiven except the blasphemy of the Holy Ghost. What is that? That's preaching a false evangel, an evil evangel. That's saying something like Jesus did not die for every man, like the Calvinists do. That's an evil evangel that will never be pardoned.
I think there's a lot of interpretation there. Sorry.
It's the
Okay.
truth.
That's a lot of interpretation that, I mean, can be
It's the
debated.
truth.
Well, I agree with
We
Megan.
all
Yeah. Very generous interpretation. So are you claiming all us atheists will go to heaven? That
Yeah,
we're-
every single one of you, including Hitler, before
Oh,
the
I don't want to
pastors-
go there.
Before the
I don't-
pastors and preachers.
Wow. Godwin's law.
I was about to say
Well,
Godwin's law.
I have some concerns about heaven because my understanding is that when you go to heaven, you become in a state of bliss and you
Here he
lose
comes.
your bad experiences and things like that. So your bad memories don't come and cause a review of trauma and stuff like that. I feel like that's problematic because I'm losing part of my personality of who I am when that happens. And to me, it seems like hell would be a better option, aside from the fact that it's not as hot as heaven, according to biblical stuff. But that's
You
a
get a
different situation. But at least in hell, you still have your whole understanding of who you are. You don't lose bits and pieces of it.
Sure, none of that's gonna happen though. The problem is most of that.
So in
stuff-
heaven, if there,
we're not
if
going to heaven. First of all, the kingdom is going to be
we're
on
going
earth.
to heaven.
The kingdom's going to be on earth first. Look, all the Jews throughout all time.
Well, no. You said that
What
we're
about
going
my parents? I'm just
Can I call
Well,
Pope
heaven-
law
I
quickly?
mean,
Can we examine that?
Okay, to be fair, like heaven, these words are just they get misconstrued. But I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is that's not the truth. Like that is the type of theology that has to get baked into eternal conscious torment. Because it's like, well, how can I be happy when I know that my grandchildren are literally being tortured? It's like, you can't be happy, so it's got to sedate you with like an opiate or something. That's not the case. I don't
It's
believe
gonna
in
like dope you out of your mind.
Yeah, the God of the Bible.
You're gonna be like, you're gonna be on meth and you're gonna be on Molly for all eternity.
Right, you're just
Like-
gonna be drugged up. The God of the Bible. Look, if there was a place of eternal torture for even a single soul, then there would be witness after witness after witness in the Old Testament, just prophet after prophet saying, "You can't do this. You can't do that."
Now that is a good
What the
point
hell? Like, and there isn't.
because there isn't because it wasn't part of the theology at the time.
Yahweh lets you die.
It doesn't exist.
Infinite
It doesn't
amount of
exist.
punishment for a finite crime is not moral. Like no matter what.
Right,
Like,
that's
well,
not
I mean,
real.
it's
It's
eventually you're
reformed
paid no matter
theology.
what.
Yeah, but I agree.
Christianity is fake. Like,
Christianity is fake.
anyways, keep
Well,
going.
I'm pretty sure Christianity exists.
Fake news, Mark.
And we are actually about to go into our outro. So if you guys have any questions for each other on the panel, now is the time to get them out. Oh, Randolph, I don't want to stream.
Sorry, I'm wondering, Curly. Earlier, we talked a little bit about these things being in the Bible, and you're saying the laws have been removed. Do you have objections to removing parts of the Bible that are no longer relevant?
Yes, because I don't know how somebody alive today could make that kind of judgment.
You've made the judgment by saying that, or you said somebody's made that judgment by saying that certain laws are no longer, they're gone. So
Saying that's what the
why not
Bible
remove
teaches.
those?
That's what the Bible teaches. It's not what Christianity teaches you. The Bible teaches very clearly Jesus Christ abolished the law. That's how he saved the world. He took away the sins of the entire world. He fulfilled all righteousness. He loved every single creature to ever be born. He knew every single one of you while he was suffering. That's why he did it. And, you know, like to some degree, it's like, well, it's God, so did he even have to do it?
Bible, it'll save on some publishing costs too, probably.
Well, it never said took away people the sin in the world either. It just says that
It says, through Christ you find salvation, but that means that you're supposed to continue walking that. Like there's, the usual.
Yeah, what does that even mean, though? Follow Jesus. Well, where is he? He's never spoken to, he doesn't tell me where to go every day. But this is my point. Is this why you get these fake Christianities where it's like you get?
He does yoga with Amy twice a week.
Exactly.
It's just, it's like being the CEO of a company and you're just like, you need to work harder because, money and, whatever, like you're going to get fired. It's just, they don't even know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're doing. They're just at the top of a food chain in a book that they're twisting.
So what's hilarious here is the irony of you saying that they're all wrong about the Bible because people can't know because of this sort of book being misinterpreted, and you're saying but people can't know, but you know.
No, I'm saying God has specifically blinded every single man, woman, and child on this earth that doesn't believe the gospel. I'm saying there's only one message. There's only one message. Ready? Jesus Christ saved the entire world.
I get it. How do you know this is?
Because that's what the Bible says.
But it's a claim.
When you go into a church, no, I'm saying. No,
Actually, I would say, Mark.
Yeah. Too long? Okay.
No, not too long at all. I think that was the true answer that you were going to get. And so, in other words, in order for us to explore, I would say the correct answer would be now we have to know why we should believe what the Bible says, which I'm interested in.
You don't.
Okay.
But that is going to be on another awesome episode of Skeptic and Ranting, because guys, we're getting close to hour 4. It's actually been fun.
God bless.
It's been a blast, I'll tell you. Yeah.
I know.
Thank you.
I actually made
it was longer because this dude was spending so much time trying to debunk atheism when he should have been trying to talk about the God of the gaps. But I think there was just too many gaps. I think that was what the problem was. Guys, I
enjoyed it. It was so weird to me that I actually enjoyed it. As long as I have somebody else that's watching it, because I get bothered. Sometimes, when I get offended, I'm just like, I get speechless. I'm just like, I don't know what to say to this about this person. So like when other people are there, they can fill that in. It's like, all right, now I can enjoy watching this because I got someone there to speak for me, so I don't have to. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what's going on. But
no, it's really hard to be. It's sometimes when you are pressing people's deeply felt beliefs, it doesn't matter how nicely you say it, because we are in some ways saying, your epistemology is wrong. Everything that you know. But I do want to thank Curly for coming on and being in the Lamb's Den.
Thank you all so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And we're actually going to be moving into our outros. So
I want to hear your
all get to say what your final thoughts on the topic and everything we have been talking about. We have been skepting and ranting God of the gaps, send in love, and we're bringing in the mimes. Randolf Richardson, the Godfather of atheism. I want to thank you for joining us.
And then it make you an offer
that he couldn't refuse. I know. Honestly, it wasn't even an offer you couldn't refuse. I'm not sure we even got an offer at all tonight from the Muslim gentleman, but maybe there's a part 2 and a part 3, so maybe we'll be convinced then. But
we'll try to remember not to drink with the fishes.
That's right. Don't make me send you out there with the fishes. But we have been Skeptic and Ranting, God of the Gaps. Where can people find you? And of course, what are your final thoughts?
You can find me at my website, www.randolphrichardson.com. My YouTube address is youtube.com/RandolphRichardson. And remember, Randolph ends with an F, not a PH, no matter what spell check tells you or autocorrect tells you. And thank you for putting the address up on the screen. I appreciate it. we're also with the Canadian Atheists. We run a Discord guild of our own at discord.canadianatheists.ca. If you want to find out more about our organization, Canadian Atheists, it is at www.canadianatheists.ca. And we're trying to promote the idea that atheism is normal, because it is, and that vilification of atheists, it should be pushed back against in a variety of ways. We favor a gentle and non-confrontational approach, but there are some times where a more aggressive measure is called for, depending on the situation. But this is kind of what we lean toward the most, and ending the stigma of atheism. The person who's in that video that you're showing earlier today is really pushing the aspects of stigmatization and vilification of atheists, especially the stigmatization, and adding a whole bunch of stereotypes that really have nothing to do with atheism. He brought in a number of scientific topics, which is in the realm of science. Indeed, there are many atheists who take a great interest in science and who are very well educated in science, but there are also many atheists with other interests and have knowledge in other areas that may not be very strong in the sciences. So to assume that all atheists are the same is wrong, because atheists are, in my view and in my experience, among the most diverse demographics in the world. So thank you very much. Oh, when he talked about the gory stuff near the end, with it sounded a bit like poetry or partial singing,
decapitation, and yeah.
It reminded me of something that Douglas Wilson said. Douglas Wilson is famous for debating with Christopher Hitchens on a number of occasions. And Douglas Wilson was talking about evangelical churches one time, I believe it was. And he said they were singing songs about water and they're all waving their hands. And then they got to a song about Jesus' blood, and they were still waving their hands, making the water motions. And, you know, sometimes I think these people, they're doing this and they don't even realize how awful the ideas are that they're putting forward. So I'll leave it at that, and thank you. Welcome, Megan. You know, it's great to have you on here, and also Curly. Really appreciate you being here and taking shots across the bow back and forth. And I look forward to your closing statements, hearing what else you want to summarize with, because I'm sure it'll be great. Thank you, everybody, and thank you everyone for tuning in as well.
Thanks, you Randolph. So very much, Randolph, the godfather of atheism. And you don't have to wait long, because, Curly, we have been skeptic and ranting on the God of the Gaps. I hope you had a fun time tonight. Is there any place to check you out? And what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, I had a great time. I want to thank you, Amy, and James and Randolph, for the shout out, and for the honest conversation, as I said before. There's nowhere to check me out yet, but I'm going to start making YouTube videos soon so I can start busting up this church system. Let me just say some quick things. I want to give a message with the evangel of the living God. So here we have a warning to Christians, if they're out there listening. In Luke 13:22-30, you have the unpardonable sin, which is to speak a false or evil evangel, basically to say that Jesus Christ did not save the world, which he did. Okay, in Genesis, we have God spoke to Abraham, and he told him, if you can number the specks of sand on the earth, this is how many I will save, which is a horrendous number. What it means is the entire world. That's what Abraham believed. God was going to save the whole world through his seed. What do we have in Romans 4:15? We have the law worketh wrath. Where there is no law, there is no sin. Okay, so the law was taken away. Colossians 2:14, it was nailed to the cross, blotted out for all mankind, every single human being on the earth. In Matthew 24, we have the abomination of desolation spoken of, which is the Christian church, spoken of throughout the entire world. The early Christian church believed in a few things. They believed in universal salvation, meaning every single human being on the earth was saved by Jesus Christ with nothing left. They were told to do the work of an evangelist. What their job was to tell the world that God was not imputing their sins unto them. It is finished. God loves them. He perfected them through his son, Jesus Christ. They aborted the law of Israel in their false system of works-based righteousness. and they wash their guilty consciences. Okay, sin is all about our guilty conscience, and so it's about being righteous before God. Know that you're perfect and you're right. You are all living saints of the God. It says, and the scripture, foreseeing that God would justify the heathen, which is every single person, through faith, the faith of Jesus Christ, preached before the gospel unto Abraham, saving the whole world, saying, in thee shall all nations be blessed. So we must believe like our father Abraham, and as God the Father and his son Jesus Christ. Okay, that's my statements. Thank you all so much for listening.
Thank you
Curly.
so very much, Curly. It is
Great to have you on.
always, yeah, it's always great to have theists on, and it's always great to just have open dialogue and conversation.
Thank you all. Much love.
Much love, and we are going right down the list. In fact, we are Skeptic and Ranting, God of the Gaps. And we are going to Megan. What is up, Megan?
Oh, there I am.
There you
Hey.
are. In fact, I hope you had a fantastic time on tonight's episode. Where can people find you, and what are your final thoughts?
You can find me on YouTube. I have a channel. I want to eventually get more into debating and stuff, but you know, I'm just still kind of working through anxiety. But you can find me at Megan Satanis on YouTube, or you can find me on Twitter. I'm also on there quite a bit. Again, it's Megan Satanis, the same name I use on YouTube, and Discord. I'm on a lot of the channel and a lot of the servers. I guess for my closing statement, my thing is like, I mean, I'm very skeptical, and I need good evidence to believe something. I mean, an outstanding claim needs outstanding evidence. And so, I mean, I have a simple test for any God, whether it's Yahweh or Allah or, you know, Krishna or whoever. You know, they're supposed to be all powerful and able to do anything. And I mean, that should, something as simple as like, I'll be like, okay, God, if you're real, this is your chance. If you can make this calculator levitate, that's all you have to do is just make this levitate. You know, it would at least be a start to showing that there's something that exists that defies the basic laws of physics, you know, but every time, nothing.
Well, Megan, why don't you instead ask God that when you let go of it, that it'll hit the ground?
That's silly, because that's what's going to happen anyways.
But God made it happen, right?
No, the laws of physics made it happen.
God invented those. I'm just
that's a claim. Like, you see, yeah, that's going into claims. That's a claim. That's a claim. That's a claim. There's claims. There's anecdotal evidence, which is like, you know, heard
Absolutely.
it from a friend who heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend, and then there's like appealing to emotions, like you know, I have this really bad evidence, and if you don't believe in it, you're taking a major risk of burning in hell for all eternity. So I understand why Christians care, you know, and stuff. And I went through an angry atheist stage, but I'm starting to kind of mellow out and be like, all right, you know, as long as they're, you know, kind of progressive, but like hardcore evangelicals, just, you know, they just come off as total trolls to me, whether they intend to be or not. But I mean, that's the basic test for an omni to show that it exists. It needs to demonstrate that, you know, that it has some kind of interaction within this physical world, you know, outside of like basic physics. And other than that, I just wanted to say I've been on Amy's channel before. It's been just over a year, I think, since the last time I was on. Yeah, and I'm in college these days and stuff, so I'm pretty busy. I'm doing a computer science software design, but it's a little tough. But I'm hanging in there barely at this point. This quarter has been really hard, so pre-calculus is a bitch. But yeah, hopefully I'll
do the same thing for game design.
Yeah, game design is a lot of learning. Yeah, have you done JavaScript?
I have. I love JavaScript.
Yeah, right now I'm in JavaScript too. Right now we're doing like binary trees, and I mean, I understand it all perfectly, especially with JavaScript. I mean, if I have a starting point, I can start, but if I have to start from scratch, it's like.
Oh, I understand. So the hardest is just staring at like Notepad and just being like code.
blank,
That is the hardest
blank. Yeah,
Pseudo-
Exactly.
I can write.
Yes, exactly what Mark is saying. That helps sometimes. Just pseudocode it, try and break it down.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Thanks for coming back.
thank you
Megan.
so very much,
Good to see you
Megan.
again.
And we have a few people that we are trying to get 100 tonight. Megan is one of them. Let's get her freaking name and get more non-believing skeptic content out there. Megan, thank you so very much for joining us.
Thanks, Megan. It was really nice to meet you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Last thing too. Like I was gonna say, yeah, I'm around a lot. Like I watch like all the shows from the ACA puts out. I watch all of like Prophet Azad, Friendly Atheist, all of them come on. And I watch as much of Amy stuff as I can. It's just these are usually like 4 or 5 hours long, and I'm just like, oh, I don't have the time for that. But like I miss hanging out with Amy. And
Did you happen to see the show that just started up recently? It's every 2 weeks, like every fortnight we do this. We're saying, convince us that a god or goddess exists. It's a Discord stage. I stream it on my YouTube channel. Got 2 episodes up already.
no,
The
I
next one
haven't
will be on
seen it.
February 20th. It's
Yeah.
a Sunday.
Okay, yeah, I also watched that GD show and Atheist Network group. I really like Oz.
Oz is great. He's a friend of mine.
He's great.
Brother
Yeah.
from another mother.
Oh, I've done the Thug Life in the past, but I guess I'm kind of semi-thug. Got a little bit of gangsta in me. But,
Look,
Excellent.
sometimes
I'll do
you just got to be real.
Yeah,
Thank you so very much, Megan. It was
Thanks,
a
Megan.
pleasure having you come back. Please come back more.
Don't wait so long. Yeah.
And all right, we are going to be heading into in a minute. We are going to be heading into the Skeptic and Ranting Discord server for the after show. But Pat, I can't say it enough. The resident, gosh darn it, archaeologist of the channel. We are Skeptic and Ranting on the God of the Gaps. I hope you had a fun time. Where can people find you? And of course, what are your final thoughts?
Well, again, thanks for having me on the show. If really the new thing I'm involved with is I co-host a show that's with Beatty Buddha on Mondays now at 9:30.
Oh, it's Mondays now?
Yeah, Mondays 9:30.
Child now.
Eastern Standard Time. And so we have that. And so I have my own channel, but I'm actually going to revamp it. So I'm not going to push anybody in that direction. I have a website where myself and some other people you may know, like Dr. Jim Majors, Dr. Joshua Bowen, and his wife, Megan, are going to be teaching some classes online with some other colleagues, Robert Caudill, and other people that are lining up. So you can take basically college level coursework at a much reduced rate without the problems of having to do all the homework and all the tests, but get the information for those that want to do that. So that's it. I just want to say a couple things before we go, and I'm sure this will be another episode.
Absolutely.
One, don't say that everything that defined Judaism, such as the law, is done away with, then describe your religious system as Judeo-Christian. Pet peeve of mine. That's a Christian apologetic. That has nothing to do, like, Judaism doesn't acknowledge Christianity as a system that it's combined with. So it's only Christians that reflect back to tie themselves to Judaism, but at the same time, right, and they reject everything that Judaism stands for as far as still adhering to the law. So stop using that term. I won't get into all the issues with the tropes that it implies. And the second thing is, if you want to ever debate the Gospels as a reliable source document, you should do that. But then if you assert it, then be prepared to, when you say a certain word means something in the original language, beware that there's a certain amount of expertise that's part of that assertion. And last but not least, I'll be in Discord, but I want to say I'll have another beer on board. And it's really good that this discussion happened, because ultimately you can have a worldview without God and have a totally moral, normative, and integrated existence. But when you start adding God to your worldview, what you do is constrict it. And that constriction puts you into a frame of mind and a frame of reference that makes you unable to make your own decisions absent God as a required factor. And if that's how you want to live your life, that's entirely up to you. I choose not to because I trust empiricism and, a materialist worldview. So with that, that's all I have. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you, Pat.
Woo-hoo! Thank you so very much, Pat. And just because. Woo-hoo!
Jenna.
Sending love, Jenna. And all right.
We all love you, Pat.
Thank you so very much, Pat. And the link is pinned in chat for the Discord if you'd like to come to our after show on the topic or anything we talked about tonight. And all right, we are handing it over to Mark. Thank you, as always, for joining us. I hope you had a fantastic time. And where can people find you? Because, like Megan, Mark is one of the fantastic people. We need to get his name. I had a tiny URL up on there. And we need to connect all of the non-believers because we, unfortunately, or fortunately, we don't schism. So sending love, Mark. We are Skeptic and Ranting, God of the Gaps. I hope you had a good time. What are your final thoughts? Well, I do it once a stream. Sending it right back.
Sorry, my fault, my mute. No, we do schism. I've seen non sequitur and what happened there. That's a schism if ever I've seen one. That was a split from.
They claim we're not atheists, so I don't think we have anything to worry about there.
Okay, that's fine then. All right, we're fine then. I've been thoroughly rebuked. Well, thank you, Pat and Megan and Curly and Randolph, and thank you all for watching. I really enjoyed it. And of course, the wonderful Amy and James. And if you haven't subscribed, definitely subscribe to them. Give it a like, and it helps so much with sort of trying to grow this community because we really do have a lot of love for everybody, and hopefully we can grow this community. This video that we watched, and I really did enjoy the discussion afterwards. I thought it was fantastic. But this video was the only thing I would use it for is a how to commit the God of the Gaps fallacy, how to actually put your foot in it and commit the fallacy that we accuse people of committing. Would be an excellent demonstration of how to do it. Yeah, and I mean, the music at the end was overkill. The sermon at the end was definitely overkill.
Yeah, it was.
It was just a preaching video with a dress on, as far as I'm concerned. Like, it was just a pig with lipstick. Anything to pay attention to. But I just want to bring up a couple of things because I live in Australia, and I just want to announce, if anyone isn't aware, we have just had a bill, legislature collapse that was going to provide discrimination protection for religious people, and it failed because they were going to exclude the trans community and basically give religious schools the right to kick out trans students, and that failed. So that's a big victory for Australia, big victory for the trans community, and one of the top stories in the main news, the ABC, who's the main broadcaster or the public broadcaster in Australia, was, does Australia have a God problem? And I would say yes. Yes, it does. At the point where your religious convictions are coming in to protect your right to discriminate against anybody, be they gay, trans, other religions, women in general, any of that, you have a God problem. You have a case that you think your morals allow you to discriminate against people because you believe in something that can't be demonstrated to anybody else. I think the world has a God problem. And I think we've really got to examine what we're going to base our legislation on. your personal beliefs or scientific evidence and evaluated standards that we can rely upon. So yeah, one God problem, but I think that us atheists are. So thank you so much for having me on. I've really enjoyed my time here, and fantastic to talk to everybody.
Thanks so much, Mark.
Woo-hoo! Thank you very much, Mark.
Thanks,
Sending
Mark.
so much love. And once again, go check out Megan and Mark's channel, because this is the non-believer community does it #better. Thank you so very much, Mark. And with that,
Ready?
we're handing it to the pilot. James, I have to thank you because, man, it's such a subtle title with God of the Gaps, but then it just went off the rails. He couldn't. I mean, I think he has a thing for us, James. I think he likes us atheists.
He seems to be definitely a bit bothered by us, and that's why I when I saw the video, I knew we had to take this one on. He needed to be in Amy's hot seat, and it was a lot of fun putting him there. So thanks, guys, for coming on, having some great discussions, and helping us get through this video. Hopefully everybody had a good time, and we will see you next time. Thanks, guys. The executive producer's in the litter box, so he's busy. But
Happens to us all.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
all right. Thank you so very much, James, and everyone. I want to thank you for joining us on this episode of Skeptic and Ranting, God of the Gaps, where tonight we watched a video called Debunking Atheism 01. Oh my, that means a part 2 and part 3. God of the Gaps. From the channel Sayed Modarresi, and had some gap-filling fun. I do, however, want to thank my co-host James W. along with our guests Mark, Pat, Megan, Curly, and Randolph, as well as the lovely people in chat, our awesome mods who make this stream so great, and of course, lovely viewers like you who make this channel even possible. If you enjoyed the show, please like, follow, or subscribe. Then hit that bell icon so that you get access to join our live streams. What's up? After the show, we will be heading over to the Skeptic and Ranting Discord server, the link of which is in the description below. Lastly, if you would like to help us make even more content, we offer some perks for our supporters by checking out our Patreon at patreon.com/Amy Newman. I am Amy Newman.
There's 4 people in Discord already.
Wow.
It's hopping and bopping. That means the
Fun
conversation is going to continue on the God of the Gaps. We are Skeptic and Ranting, and
Maybe
I
Sayed will be there.
have a fantastic. I know. Hey,
Never know.
we welcome one, come all. Just come on, guys. Not on my sheets again.